Good morning. I will call to order the meeting of the Penetanguishene Public Library Board Policy and Planning Committee, Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. I have a motion then, I guess, to begin the meeting. Or I need a motion to. Okay, thank you, Doreen. Motion to approve the agenda as circulated. So you've had a chance to look at the agenda. It outlines the business arising, the policies that we are going to review this morning. Okay, any questions?
I just noticed it says the next.
Oh yeah, that's just an error. She just forgot to.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, I see
Yeah,
that now.
it's all right.
Okay,
It's
I'll amend
because
it.
the meeting was supposed to be
Right.
held March 27th, and I was sick, so the next meeting would have been today. So just ignore that.
So do we know? I'm sure I've got it in my book.
Yes, I have it here. I'll update it.
Oh, okay, so
What is the next date?
Let me look here for you. Yeah, I do have it. I do. I just looked at it. I just right here. September 25th.
That is Thursday as well.
Yes.
okay. Okay, I need someone please to motion. Thank you, Bill. And a seconder. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, you've had a chance to look at the minutes from our October 3rd meeting. And again, my apologies that we had to cancel the March 27th meeting, but I had that virus and I was.
We didn't want it.
No, you didn't want it and I couldn't get out of bed. So any questions with regard to the minutes from October 3rd? Okay, hearing none. I would ask for someone to move a motion to accept the minutes of our meeting of Thursday, October 3rd as presented. Still moving?
I wasn't added, so.
Oh, okay. Kathy, second, thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the meeting over to Linda to review the policies, and I see the first one is already up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I did read the land acknowledgement. Should I have done that?
No, you can just do that at the board. I think at the big board meeting. This is just a facility committee, so.
Okay.
Policy committee. A committee meeting is what I meant to say. So I think that's just required at the actual board meeting.
Oh, okay, so policy 13 is petty cash.
Yeah, and this is basically what we do on a daily basis. We have petty cash in the cash register.
No, this is the petty cash that I keep.
Oh,
separate.
that's your petty cash. Oh, that's another one.
I
Okay.
like number 2 where it says the fund.
Fund,
shall
yeah,
not
the
exceed
fund shall not-
$50.
Yeah. Oh, fun. Thank you. Yeah. Funds.
Yeah, all right.
And
Just have a
so-
question: is $50 enough?
That's what
Yeah.
that was my.
For fun money or?
Yeah.
That was my
So,
question.
I will correct that.
Yeah. So presently, and this has been this way for a very long time.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
$50, it doesn't cover a lot, especially when you have to, pay things in cash, things like that. So let's give you a perfect example. Paul's got to go get some kind of gas for the lawnmower or whatever, or
Right.
he's got to get parts that are not available at Home Hardware and we don't have an account. If it's something that's going to cost in the $100 or over $50, I have to give him the credit card and he has to go and purchase it with the credit card. So little things like that. Other things we would use it for is if programming. So Connie will go and pick up a few things at the Dollar Tree. So it costs her $20. She'll get reambushed. So
I know the school board, I'm on the policy committee at the school board as well, and we've had to raise the petty cash amount.
a lot of things
almost
are
annually we have to review it.
really.
Yeah.
So that amount hasn't been touched in many
I
years that
can
I'm
see
aware of. In fact, it was funny, the town actually asked me this year if it was still $50, and I said, yeah, it was left at 50 for 2024, you know? I said, but we are looking at policies this year, so I'm not sure how that's going to be affected. And so, so it's being brought up. If, you know, I would recommend that it should go up.
I would suggest maybe double it at least.
Well, I'm thinking 100 is more than comfortable. We don't use it every day. But I mean, there are times that we do need it and we go, oh, we don't have enough,
Yeah.
right? Oh, okay, now we
Yeah,
gotta
well, it
figure
should be-
out,
it should be
you know,
raised.
or sorry, can you wait till we have a full $50 in there? Because
I mean, look at when
the
it was first
process-
effective.
Yeah,
2002.
the process is, we spend that money, but it's still gotta go to the town. The town has to do a report on it, then they send it, so it can be like a, 2-3 week process sometimes. So, if we're out of that $50, then we're out of that $50, or if we're out of that $20, then that's the same principle. So, it'd just be nice to have that extra cash. It is locked up. It is not accessible to all. They have to, whoever is given permission to spend money to be refunded for, has to, ask permission, and it goes through Janet as well. So,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Have you checked to see what the town's policy is on petty cash? 'Cause I believe they don't no longer use petty cash.
They don't,
Some departments still have it.
but some, yeah, the town doesn't, but some departments still do. What that amount is, I don't have that information.
It's the cost to process petty cash.
It's a lot.
Your labor costs are in there.
Yeah,
In regular industry, every $10 per hour in wage is 25 cents a minute.
I know.
It would be higher than that here because benefits are higher than in a standard thing. So if somebody's making $30 an hour, you're looking in excess of 75 cents per minute to process it, to record the petty cash, hand out petty cash and stuff.
Yep, and on our end too. So it's on both ends.
And then
Yeah.
you're handing it off to the town and they're doing it.
Exactly.
So a $50 purchase that you hand in a bill could easily be costing $15, $20 in labor just to process it.
Yeah, so
Whereas a
the,
credit card just goes, it's done.
yeah, so the other option to that would be, just so everybody's aware, is because it's already in that process, is if we eliminated the petty cash, people would have to be reimbursed anyway. So then what they do is they bring their receipts to me. I put in a reimbursement form, and then it goes to the town and it goes directly into their bank account.
You mean have the people pay out of their pocket?
Yep,
But if you have a credit card, why not just?
Because we're not supposed to lend our credit
we're not
cards,
supposed to lend our credit cards.
It's a
Or
corporate
that's
card,
it.
not a corporate card.
but it has my name on it.
Yeah, and me too.
I'm
And that's,
responsible for it.
yeah, and that's a town thing.
Mhm.
I'm really not supposed to like say, hey, Paul, just go pick that up. I'm
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah,
go
'cause
pick
you-
it
There
up.
isn't
but
such thing
it's
as a
not
blanket
always-
credit card. that-
Exactly. So that's a huge thing that they say we're not supposed to. And it's actually in our written contract.
With the town, they have credit cards that they're supposed to come in and use to purchase stuff if they're coming in and doing stuff.
So again, they have their credit cards. They do this specifically like we do, but they have a reimbursement. So let's say, somebody at the town staff spends $40 at Tim's for the meeting, just for an example, I'm just trying to get that out, like information. They will fill out that form. That form gets submitted to the proper person, management, and then they process it. It's approved, it's processed, and then they e-transfer. It's like they're paying a bill on our behalf. So instead of petty cash, we would now have a transaction on our budget.
So if the petty cash kitty is
Mhm.
larger, it would be less,
Well, I think
less
Interaction,
times that you have to
process it,
process it.
because we only process it.
Yeah, I've maybe, and this is a stretch.
It's a rare
Once or
thing.
twice a year.
Yeah,
Well, there
we
you
don't
go.
do it
No.
often.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes well, now the expenditures are more
Yeah.
because it's so expensive out there.
Yeah.
So, you plan a program, all of a sudden you need these supplies and I'm not here, she's not there, Connie needs them for today, let's give that example.
That
She'll,
shouldn't be using
you know,
their own
They shouldn't
money.
have
I
to
don't
use
think
their
that's-
own money.
They
or
shouldn't,
credit
but
card.
it's a good backup if they have to. That's the only thing.
True.
We can't give a credit card to everybody.
No,
That's the
of course
thing,
But
right?
your petty cash is locked up, so if you two were away, she wouldn't have access to it anyway.
No, she pays her
No,
own
they
money,
pay out of their own
and I
money
reimburse them.
Okay.
and then they get reimbursed.
So they get reimbursed right away.
Right away.
Yes,
Yeah.
as
It's the-
opposed
it's the
to
float,
waiting.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So do you want a motion? I think
Yeah.
even raising it to 150.
Are you comfortable with that amount? Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, because people, if they're gonna use their own money, like if, say Paul, for example, is gonna spend $50 or $75 on gas,
Yeah.
it's not right that he,
It's a $15, right? So when he fills his little tank, it's $15. But, you know,
Still, he shouldn't
he
have to.
shouldn't
put
have
that
to pay out of
his
his own money and have to wait till
No.
pay period
Yeah.
to get it back.
No.
Because that's the
No.
process if we do that. If we
Yeah.
eliminate the petty cash, then they have to wait till,
Yeah.
Sometimes they have to wait till a check is processed, too,
Yeah.
depending on the
Oh,
amount.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's not
Yeah.
right.
so that's the other thing.
Yeah, I agree with
I'll
Kathy.
make a motion to raise it to $150,
Okay.
but it's for 20 years.
Yeah,
Yes,
Well,
yeah. I mean, I think,
$50.
no, more than 20 years.
yeah.
Yeah,
2002.
all right. Yeah.
So we need a seconder then?
Yeah, so Kathy moved it.
So the process would take less time. You're not having to do it on a monthly basis. You do it when it's depleted.
When it's only needed.
Right.
Well,
Yes.
once a year, I
Yeah.
have to do it every closing year.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
budget,
so,
yeah.
and it takes longer to deplete a higher.
If it's a higher amount,
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
So would you like me to read the motion?
Sure.
Okay, so the motion is the Penetanguishene Public Library Board, Policy and Planning Committee recommend the Penetanguishene Public Library Board increase the petty cash amount to $150.
Okay, did you?
Yeah.
A second,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried.
150. Next policy would be, let me turn the page here so I can keep track, 18 proctoring.
Proctoring,
Yes,
okay.
policy.
And again, that's not something that we do on a daily basis. Mind you, usually we get busy March, April. We don't do a lot of high school ones. Usually it's college and university.
Trades as well.
yeah.
It has those.
Yeah. So keep that in mind.
So
So
as
you do those.
As I do these, I just want to comment, at times, it may become more limited because many of the colleges and universities are asking that the person proctoring the exam have a master's degree.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the new.
So a bachelor's degree isn't an issue. No, we can do that, but a master's degree, they have to be turned away. I don't think any of us have a master's
No.
degree.
No.
Should that be in the policy somewhere?
I think it is, just as well as about the availability of
Yeah.
staff. Like,
Yeah,
so
okay, but
if
it
that
doesn't
is,
say-
no, because it's the specification. So if that's the requirement, we can't meet the
No.
requirement, then unfortunately we can't
okay.
do it.
But it doesn't say anywhere about
Hmm.
the qualification of the.
So
No,
that,
because that's dependent on
Their
the
criteria.
who's asking.
Yeah.
So if it's high
Okay.
school, they may be okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
they might be
Back-
fine,
back.
and that's what I'm just saying. So if
Alright.
we don't have staff that meet the criteria, unfortunately, we're not able to proctor them.
Okay,
That's
so
where it
maybe
is.
we should say something about, and as well as the availability or.
Or requirements.
Requirements, yeah. I
Availability.
agree with that.
Of
Yeah.
staff and educational requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too, I think we need to look at is the fee. Is
Yeah.
that current fees? Like
That was put back,
way back when? I was gonna say the last time I
2008.
proctored was 100 and something an hour. So I'm a little,
Does it have to be library staff or could someone who met the?
It has
It
to be
has to be a
some-
member of the
yeah.
staff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's an extensive form usually that,
You have to
that
fill
we
out.
have to fill
Okay, I
out.
was
Yeah.
just saying I could help
Yes.
out if you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
were
So
short-staffed.
that might be possible for a board member. I would have to ask
Okay.
whoever
Yeah.
is asking us.
Sure.
But normally it's like, it's
Somebody-
usually on a Saturday, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, that they want someone here.
Yeah.
And again, depending on the staff, like,
Or
we're not
afternoon
altering
into
staff,
the hours if it's
to,
straight.
yeah.
Yeah.
So does the $50 go to the
Well-
library, or whatever the fee is, go to the library or the person?
Yes.
No, goes to the library.
To the
It goes
library.
to the
Yes, yeah.
library,
It's
yeah.
not, it's not,
So the person isn't reimbursed for that time,
They-
other than their regular employment
so.
Yeah.
cost?
And I mean, we can put that in there as well, if you want someone to be proctored after hours. The problem with that is that it will require two staff, because I'm not leaving someone alone with
Yeah.
someone I don't know in the library.
Exactly.
So the cost increase would increase, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Would you two be the only two
No.
that would be able to do this? or-
Oh,
staff can
no.
do it.
No,
Yeah.
there's staff that has education. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're all
they all
educated.
have education,
No,
so.
I'm not questioning education.
No,
just-
but anybody that has the qualified, education, so they'll ask, you know, but if it's somebody
will
with
specify.
masters,
They
I
can
don't
have
think
a,
any of
they
us.
have, usually the requirement is a college education, and then
Yeah.
depending, like if it's a college course, or a trades. And then usually some of the universities will say, okay, they have to have a bachelor's of education,
Yeah,
or a bachelor's
which I
degree.
think 3 or 4 of
Yeah,
us have it.
Yeah.
4 of
and
us
then,
have it, yeah.
But sometimes depending on the course or whatever, they specify a master's degree. So it all depends. So
Yeah.
whoever's working. So if I'm not here and another staff is here.
Yeah,
Then.
So this
doesn't matter.
$50 doesn't even cover probably the cost.
I don't think so. I
Mhm.
think that's
Yeah.
way outdated, because like I
Yeah.
said, the last time I did it was I want to say $124-$125.
So I took a course
And that
a
was-
few years ago and had to get proctored at Georgian College in Midland, and I paid $150.
I was
So,
gonna suggest
yeah.
$150.
For the
and-
whole
For the whole
2
thing,
hours
or
or
I-
for each?
uh,
it was,
150 for the next-
my time limit was 3 hours.
Yeah.
3
for-
hours.
To rate the exam.
yeah.
Mhm.
Do we know what Midland charges?
No idea.
Do they do that? Do they proctor?
I have no
I
idea
don't,
if they
thi- I
proctor.
don't, I haven't heard that they proctor, honestly. I don't think it's a library thing. I think it's a proctoring fee. And I think we need to, look at that, because it's on the form. I could have sworn it was on
I
the
thought
form
that
that
I
we
included
fill
the form.
out. Usually the form they make us fill out will say how much it is an hour, or, you
So
know,
they
how
set
much
the
the
fee?
flat rate
The
is that they'll
school, well, we
pay.
set the fee.
Okay,
Mhm.
And then it depends, because some of the educational institutions will reimburse up to a certain amount and some
Yeah.
of them won't.
um,
So it all depends again on the institution,
Yeah. So sometimes a student might have to,
go out of pocket. And
Yeah.
I think that's why they were keeping the cost lower.
oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So-
but that's way outdated. I would honestly, I would say 100, I would say at least 125 that fee should be.
For a maximum of 3 hours, say, something like that?
So 150 for a maximum.
Of 3.
3 hours?
And then if it's an additional hour, you know, maybe then we say $20 an hour.
Did you say
or-
125 or 150?
I said 125, but you guys said 150.
Yeah,
Do you mean a maximum of 3 or a minimum of 3?
So for after.
I mean, a maximum, unless you don't want people here for like 6
yeah, like Janet
hours.
said, she
No.
was only allowed 3 hours, like
To
there's a
rate my
time limit
exam.
to complete an
Mhm, yeah.
exam.
Yeah,
What-
so you don't
I'm
want
just
people
looking
here
here
for
to
6
see.
hours for your $150 fee.
No,
I
So it's a
don't think
maximum.
it's, I don't think it's more than 3 hours usually. When you go to university,
yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
remember being more than 3 hours.
3
You know,
hours,
they
not-
clock you out, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
it's not
Pretty
unlimited.
standard.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at there.
But
So
I
the
mean,
part-
times have changed since one day, you know?
When I went, they just had this thing with sand in it. And just turned.
Well, we had
Oh, yeah.
somebody sitting at the front
Yeah.
saying, okay, you have an hour. And we'd be like,
So what happens is and I apologize, I thought I had included it, maybe it was on the other side. So there's an appendix A, which is the proctor request form. So what happens is when you need to take an exam, the Penetanguishene Public Library is happy to provide proctoring service. They have to complete the form, which gets sent to me. So it's asking for their name, their phone number, their email address, the institution. the contact person at the institution, the time of date on which you want the exam written, and the date, every effort will be made to schedule the student on the preferred time and date, but the Penetanguishene Public Library cannot guarantee compliance with the request. So that's the form. After that, then the institution gets back to me and says, okay, can we do this? Can we do this? Do you have this? And sometimes the requirements are insane. They have to have their own room, so which may tie up the meeting room.
Yeah.
So they have to be supervised at all times, which
That's because you have
Yeah.
to sit there
Yeah.
and stare at them
yeah.
basically.
So at times we've had them in the meeting room downstairs because there's a camera. So
Yeah.
we say to them, okay, we can see what you're doing, but if you require a bathroom break, this is your scheduled time because someone has to go down to make sure that they're literally in the bathroom and haven't snuck out. But so it's a lot of work, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Like I can understand why you would want to increase the cost.
Yeah.
And
So-
sometimes it's up here and it just needs to be,
Yeah, it's easier when it's just in this area, right?
it all
Because-
depends on
Yeah.
the institution.
So, what is the rate you want to set it at? Is it 125 or is it 150? I'm just saying, I used to, when I did it, it was 120 back then, and we're talking, what, 6-7 years ago?
Yeah,
I would suggest 150 for a maximum of 3 hours.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm comfortable with that. And do we want to leave the $20 there for each additional hour? Do we want to take that out?
I would take it out.
Yeah,
Okay,
perfect. Because, just for 3 hours.
You're
so-
losing money.
flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 3 hours.
And
I would suggest as a minimum,
as a minimum?
that there should be a minimum set of hours. So minimum of an hour, or 2 hours, or whatever. Otherwise, you're setting up,
so $50 an hour? Is what-
No, no.
is what
No, no,
you're-
no, no.
150 is fine,
Yeah,
Okay.
but somebody could come in and they say, well, it's only a 15-minute exam. So
Well,
like,
you get your
You know.
$150 for the 15 minutes
Yeah.
anyway, right?
Yeah.
so,
not if it's 150 an hour.
No, it
No,
isn't
no,
an hour.
it's $150 flat
flat
fee.
fee
Flat fee
to
Yeah,
a maximum
to a
of 3
maximum of.
however
so
long.
So
The least you would be
So
making
you're not
is
talking
$50
150
an
per
hour.
hour, you're talking
No.
150
so
for 3
whether
hours.
they write it in
Yes.
15 minutes or they write it in 3 hours, it's still the same fee.
Well, then that wouldn't be enough money.
Well, you're getting $50 an hour rather than $50 for the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
What,
It has to
What
be when
would-
we're open.
what would staff,
And yeah.
would that even cover staff hours? Staff pay?
So if the staff are here, we're not calling anyone in.
Right.
They're
So
being
it's no,
paid anyway.
it's, we're getting, we're here to do
So
work
that's part of the
anyway.
requirements that I would say to them. It has to be during open hours.
Yeah,
But if they have to sit in the room with them,
If we have to sit in the room with them, that's entirely different. You're absolutely right.
yeah.
yeah, if they're just sitting at a table back there, then that's no problem.
Okay,
But
so
yeah,
it's $150 if staff supervision is required.
then it would
If
be-
a one-on-one supervision is required, then it would be
Should
an
be.
hourly rate of,
Whatever the employee can pay.
Well,
that
then
could
you
be,
will.
that's
Very.
sketchy, that's
Well, it would
sketchy.
Well, or I don't
Well,
know.
kind of $50
An hour, yeah,
An additional,
because it could be
50
somebody that's 25
per hour.
or somebody that's, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
If they're doing.
I mean,
two-
if it's me, I can sit there with my laptop and do my work, but they can't, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
okay, so, the cost of the library staff proctoring, and grading an exam is $150 for a maximum of 3 hours. If a one-on-one supervision is required, an additional $50 per hour is required.
So make it,
So if it's an hour exam, it would be 150 plus $50.
Yes,
If it's a 2 hour exam, it would be 150
Yeah.
plus
Plus,
$100.
Yes.
per hour.
For
Is required.
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
supervision,
one-on-one.
One-on-one
Yeah.
supervision.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Does that
Does
make
that-
sense?
Well, when I see the
Right?
cost of tuition, I'm
Uh,
thinking,
Trust me.
Yeah.
this is really, you
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
graduate and, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we thought our college days of craft dinner were done until our kids went to school.
so So are we good? Everybody's good with
Yeah.
that? You wanna
Just,
change and maybe put a motion to
Yeah.
say that that's what it's been changed to?
word change. Cost or the fee, is what does it cost to change the, fee base?
Yes.
To 150 for max
The 3
of
hours.
3 hours plus $50 an hour.
If one-on-one is required, supervision is
Should
required.
One-on-one supervision be required. Okay, so the motion is the Penetanguishene Public Library Policy and Planning Committee change the fee base of proctoring to $150 for a maximum of 3 hours plus $50 an hour should one-on-one supervision be required. Yeah, okay. Or should be amend the policy, sorry. Okay, is that good?
So we need a mover and a seconder?
Bill?
Oh,
Thank
Bill,
you.
okay, all in favor?
Thank you. All right. So next one on our agenda is procurement. So not a lot of change has changed on that one when Linda and I were doing it, except for some of the wording where they talk about mail.
Yeah.
It's now mostly by email, so she can receive quotes and mail and send out quotes via email, if I remember correctly.
Well,
when I
I
was
just
doing this
noticed
one.
something on, 2, under purchasing policies, under B, is that $500 supposed to be 5,000?
I'm sorry, which one is that?
B,
It'll be
it's-
expenditures up to $5,000. No,
And then
it's 5,000.
it's that, but then there's a sentence for expenditures exceeding 500? A minimum of.
Oh, that's, yeah.
That's
it should
the- I'm
say
sorry,
5,000.
That should be
That should be
5,000.
fine. I
5,000,
apologize. Yeah,
Okay,
I forgot
Did
the
I?
0. Yeah.
Okay, then I had a question about what the difference between quotations, tenders, and proposals. Because it basically reads the same policy. Could they be combined as a procedure for quotations, purchasing, or tenders? I don't know if there's a big difference between the actual physical things, I guess. Quotations, tenders, or proposals. What's the difference?
Do you want to
Bill?
answer that? I'm trying to word it properly.
It's a little bit back from this. The town has a set procurement policy.
Yes.
That has been, that's more universal, not just strictly here, but it's a.
We
Bobby's White
adapted it,
kind of thing.
yes.
This was
If-
originally the town.
If
Yeah.
we could, it's different than what this is.
Okay.
If
Okay.
it could be the same, it would maybe flow a little more, then we don't have to reinvent the wheel, we can just follow their policy.
So I think it's fair to say, just to get out there, and if you don't mind, we did ask the town for their
Yeah.
policies.
Recently,
Yes,
And they wouldn't give them to you?
they gave us some.
They gave us some. They said they were working on policies as well. So to my knowledge, this is what we received from them. And then we always adapt their policies. And we use their wording. We just put in library, as opposed to having, of course, the town. I mean, to me, a quote is just somebody giving me a price. A tender is somebody who is
Seeking,
they're
Correct,
coming to
or-
me and they're saying,
I want to do the job.
yes, I want to do the job. I want to tender this job. These are the specifications I have. They'll give me their WSIB. They won't just give me a paper quote. Here's a price. They're serious. They want to get implicated. They're going to tender on it and they're ready to do their job. As in a quote is just, oh, you asked me for this price, here it is, right? A proposal, to me, is when they say, okay, here's how it should, so perfect example, the lower level.
Mhm.
Well, I know you want open concept, but there's these codes, so we can't or we can, but we need to have this kind of stove now. We have this ventilation. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They're
I see.
proposing, they're
So each one
amending
gets
the
more
drawings with
specific,
us. They're
yeah.
working with the codes and they provide us with all the information. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding.
Okay.
So
You
you're
got
looking
input?
at it as people from outside doing this,
Yes.
submitting tenders or
Quotes.
a proposal or quote.
Yeah.
Not us asking for, going through a tendering process where,
Which we
there's-
did for the stairs.
where we did.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, or proposals, or, the board gets together and say, gee, we'd like to propose finishing the basement and
Yeah.
this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
And then, but they're gonna come back saying your proposal's out of line and
Yeah.
we can't do that, or
If-
whatever,
if-
yeah.
But
The
I could be totally
recommendation
wrong.
is to side chair this policy until I get a copy from the town, if you can get that for me, because I can't seem to get the most recent ones. That would be fair too.
Yeah.
So,
I just found it very repetitious.
yes.
All three,
Yeah.
the three were repetitious,
Yes.
so that's why I asked that question. But this is just housekeeping again, there's a double sentence here.
Well, that could be,
That could be a typo thing.
yeah, maybe me.
Under the request for quotations number 4, Roman, there's two.
Oh, I see that now,
two
yes.
that-
thank
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Needs to be
Thank you,
revised.
yes.
We need to
It's
set
two
up.
sentences the same.
okay.
Yes.
Just on the proposal, the tender and
Yep.
stuff. So proposal would be something like, you call somebody and you say, my eavesdrops are leaking.
Yep.
So they walk around and they give you a proposal saying, this part needs to be replaced, this needs to be replaced, and we have to do this. And that's their proposal that they're going to do, or what they're suggesting. Somebody else could come along with a whole different idea.
Right.
So those are proposals. If it's a quotation, then that's where you say, I want this section
Yep.
replaced. So then they're a specified job. And so now they're saying to put up a 10-foot section of whatever, replace that window, whatever we're doing. Where there's a definite layout, and that would be a quotation based on that.
Price.
And
Yeah.
the other one was
A tender. That's
Oh, the
when they
tender.
tender out. Yeah.
tender is where you say what you want done. You say, I want that window replaced and I want this column painted purple.
Okay.
So that's your tender. So now you're giving them instructions as to what the job should be, and then they fulfill your requirements.
Okay.
So
Okay.
one is their
I had the
suggestion,
proposal and the
one's their
tender
suggestions.
backwards. Okay.
Proposals, their suggestions.
Okay.
PFQ, when does that come? Is that a tender issue? Or is that just out of curiosity?
They are, where
RFQ, I'm sorry, RFP,
RFQ.
sorry. Yeah,
So
RFQ.
that's, remember with the stairs?
Yeah,
If we're spending, if the project is gonna cost more than a certain amount, you have to put out.
yes, okay. That's
An
what I'm just making sure I
RFQ.
understood that.
And, well, it's an RFP and then
Yeah.
they, right,
Yeah.
and then they have to come back or whatever it is. It's one of those,
Making
but
sure
they
my
have to, it's a whole, and it's in a system.
Okay.
So they have to come and there's different companies and then the committee reviews it and then it goes to the board and then the decision is made and then the person is,
Okay.
awarded, just like for the stairs. Yeah.
well, can we,
What do you want to do about this policy?
well, I wonder.
Try to
if
get a
we
new
can
one?
Try and get,
If Bill will send
A
it to me, I will
condensed-
gladly review it and send
We've
it
asked,
out.
I've asked, she asked, then I stepped in and I
Mm-hmm.
asked, and the same thing. So we are not in that tops group, so we're not privy of all their policies.
As they
So
change.
sometimes it can
Right.
be a little frustrating for us as well.
so You think that's one of the policies they're working on then? Is that
Well,
the
you're
problem?
mentioning that it's a different policy than this one.
The difference, my concerns with this one are the, it's not as open as what the town is. The
Why
town
don't
is-
you get us the town policy?
I can do that. To do that, I need board direction to do it.
Oh,
So as long as I have board direction or committee direction, I can do it.
Well, why don't we-
Yeah.
Okay,
ta-
so
table
I
I
the
think we
motion.
need that direction.
Yeah.
If we're
Mhm.
like, if you're telling me there's a different policy and we don't have it, because that's one of the ones we adapt from the town. So we require an updated one so that we can bring it to this committee and pass it on to our, right?
I just wouldn't like something to be job given out and somebody come along and say, oh, you didn't follow the
Yeah,
rules.
yeah.
Well,
I
exactly,
agree.
exactly. And
Yeah,
we're
I
in
know.
that process right now. So
Yeah.
we wanna dot our i's
Wanna
and,
do
We
it
have
correctly.
two
Yeah.
verbal
Yes.
quotes. Well, maybe 2 verbal quotes is
probably had to get
okay.
3.
but- Well, I'm
Does it
just
say
written
So
two?
it.
there, yeah, I
see?
might.
Yeah,
So maybe it's 3, maybe it has to be
I don't know.
written. Maybe
Yeah.
the dollar value from 5,000 is now 10.
this is old. This is old.
May I
Sure.
ask, and I may be out of line here, Linda, but would the board be able to direct, board member Waters to get
I
a
think so.
copy of the policy and planning,
If
or the
we-
policies for the town?
If it's not
Because-
forthcoming when you've asked.
No.
maybe-
Or if we can act, like you obviously get policies,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, you don't get all of them, but those that we need for something like this, like a purchasing policy or anything like that, it'd be good to
Yeah, 'cause
have
this
that
is pretty
access.
comprehensive, like.
Yeah.
it's, you know,
That's
because-
not something we put together. That's
No.
definitely the town. We just put our logo on top, so.
Yeah.
And then that puts you off the hook so nobody can come back to you and say. you didn't do-
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware there was a new policy.
Me neither.
So, yeah, I guess the motion then
town-
is to maybe defer this policy
Mhm.
We
and
don't need a
to,
motion to defer it, because whether we just need the motion to move forward with.
You could have it
both,
put
whatever.
forward
Okay.
for the
Yeah.
September meeting.
Yes,
and-
we want to defer to another meeting.
Yeah.
And we want to
request-
give direction, well, the committee,
Policy manual.
policy committee will give direction to Counselor Waters.
Well, I think it has to come to the board meeting, right?
Yeah.
The next board meeting, which is
I think a
September.
committee can give that direction.
Monday night.
Oh, wait, Monday
Committees-
night.
Committee
should
can
be-
give that direction because there is enough parties here from the board.
Yeah, there's-
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
no,
this
no.
committee can give direction,
Okay.
for Counselor Waters to,
Procure the latest.
Acquire.
The.
new,
That's just a second.
policy on,
Well, I'm just gonna ask for all of them.
oh, okay,
Procurement.
that's even better.
Mm-hmm.
New, the
Procurement,
revised
purchasing,
or
and-
new policies that have come forth. And bring the information back to this committee
So-
so that we can adapt, our procedures
Regardless if they're being updated,
accordingly.
they still have to have policies like us in
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
So as they're updated, it would be nice if we could get the updated version, but as it stands,
We don't.
all I've requested is their policy manual. And
Ah.
I want their entire policy manual.
Right.
That's what
Because
was
we have
my
to follow the
request.
policies.
Exactly.
Many
Ours
of
are based
our,
on.
I would say the majority of our
Yeah.
policies are
We
based
have
on theirs,
very
other than the
few
library act.
specific. So the motion is that the Policy and Planning Committee requests Board Member Waters to obtain the Town of Penetanguishene Policy Manual and defer the procurement, purchasing, and tendering policy until the
Until-
September meeting.
Yes.
Yes,
Does that
Are we
make
good with that?
sense?
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay,
So hopefully I can have that before our next meeting. If they tell me that the committee direction isn't sufficient, then we might have to ask it the board.
Right.
yeah, I need this policy though, because we're moving forward in the lower level development and, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's so
If
hard
it's
to
changed, like now I'm not comfortable,
Well, this will be coming forward at our board meeting, right?
No.
We've
No?
deferred this.
We've
No, I mean the
deferred this-
whole, report.
Beth will
Well, yeah,
supply a
so
report.
most
So
of them, but this particular policy is being deferred until we have an updated one.
Okay, so at the board meeting, it could be done at that time, could it not be rolled in? Because the board has to approve this.
Yes, so, but make sure that we have it in time. Well, the board meeting's Monday.
Yeah, we won't have it in
You won't have it
time,
in time for this
but-
board
but
meeting.
we'll-
Do we
will
have a
be-
meeting in
if
June?
Beth does a report
I mean, we can
and
call
yeah, Beth does the report,
Because the
says we
agenda's
need
already
to
been
defer
prepared for
them.
Monday.
Oh, well, you
The
do,
packages are
I
already.
I can amend it,
Yes,
for Monday, but I mean, it still doesn't,
well, all we
We
have
won't
to
have
do at
seen
the
it.
board meeting is
So when Beth is
ensure
doing the
that Bill-
report,
that Bill
request
has
that.
board permission as well as committee permission to seek the updated.
do we have a June meeting for the board?
No,
No,
this next one's in September. So, Beth, when you're doing your report to the board on the meeting, that
Yeah.
is something that we can put forth as a
okay,
motion.
sure, I can move a motion.
Yes, to, have the board
Yeah,
So
request the
then if the
policies.
Bill finds that whoever he is dealing with needs board permission, not just committee permission, we've already given it,
Yeah,
right?
Because I think when I requested the policies, I was given 6 or 7, and that was the
yeah,
most
I was given the same.
And I asked for an entire manual, so I was able to go back into the minutes of the last amended policies, I believe was 2011, for the town.
Wow.
And, yeah, so, and find the entire policy manual. And that's basically what I was basing everything on, because that's all I could, the most current information I could find.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
how come the town Penetanguishene policies aren't on the town website?
Some of them are, some of them aren't.
Some aren't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because
like
the
us.
school board, all of the school board policies.
Yeah.
Are on the school board website.
So the
All
personnel
listed.
policies, I don't believe the
You
town
can't.
posts.
You can't, yeah, you're not supposed to.
But like even on our library, if you look on our library website, our policies, like our general policies
Yeah, I
are
guess it's
posted,
just general policies.
except
Yeah.
I have taken off the ones that are currently, so the ones that are here today, are not linked because they're under review.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right,
but
that
everything
makes
else
sense.
is
Yeah.
pretty much there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm thinking the holdup might be that they're reviewing policies if they haven't been done since.
And they are.
2011.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not faulting anyone. Please don't get me
No.
wrong. I've just,
It's a lot of work.
I just need something to go by.
Yeah.
Like that's my, we have to update ours, and ours are
Sure.
based on the town of Penetanguishene. So it's frustrating when I have to do something and I can't do it because I'm not getting the information.
Right.
Okay, so can someone,
We need a mover.
yes, please, do you want me to read the, motion again, or?
Sure.
Okay, so the motion is the Policy and Planning Committee requests Board Member Waters to obtain the Town of Penetanguishene Policy Manual and defer the procurement, purchasing, and tendering policy until the September, Policy and Planning meeting. Okay, thank you, Ken.
And do we have a seconder?
I can second. Thank you, Darren.
All in favor?
Okay.
Policy
Procurement.
16.
Procedures for operation of the board. And I apologize that this one was smaller. I think it's when I was doing the track checks. I didn't notice till after I had printed them all that.
I just had some, formatting issues. Number 2, financial accountability,
So let me
Yeah.
see.
and it should be like A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And there's a 3.
Sorry, I'm sorry, where are we?
Yeah.
On number 2.
Oh, I see where A.
Yeah, it says
B,
A, B, C,
B,
3,
C,
A,
and
B,
then-
C. So there's.
Oh, I see, I see what
Yeah.
you're, the
And
format,
there's no
okay.
D.
Yeah.
All right, so I will check that, yes.
It's just the formatting.
Okay, format.
Yeah. And then down under orientation, each new board member shall receive each board member. That's a duplication
The
of
chief
words.
executive
as
shall-
well.
each new board member shall receive, oh, I see, yeah,
Mhm.
where I've done
Oh, yeah.
that.
That's double.
Okay,
Just housekeeping. basically.
No, I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
On
sometimes,
the first page,
yes,
composition of the board,
yes,
it still has Tiny Township resident. I'm
yes,
just
I did
wondering
leave
when
that. I wasn't sure if we were
Because we
supposed to or
need-
not.
Yeah, we need to discuss.
Or the
Yeah.
possibility, should like the wording, I think is
Yeah.
more what I was
Wondering.
wondering about.
Mhm.
Or the possibility of a tiny township
Because
representative.
I think,
Because moving forward, I just didn't want to have to bring the policy if
Yeah.
moving
Yeah.
forward,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's changed.
correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding was that Tiny Township can appoint somebody to this committee, to this board. They have to send their appointment to council, and then council in turn, and maybe I'm wrong,
Council approves it?
and the mayor would approve it, or council would approve it, and then they could serve on the board, but that might have changed, I'm not sure.
So in the past, the way, there was a Tiny representative on the board
Yes,
as a courtesy to
Yes.
Tiny because they were,
yes.
It was a handshake deal, correct?
Yes.
yeah, it was a handshake
Yeah.
deal. But it wasn't in the procedure
It wasn't a
bylaw for the
bylaw,
town.
yeah,
So the procedural bylaw for the town said that the mayor appoints
yes,
whoever goes on, and then it goes for approval to council.
yes.
So that's what happened, what's been happening.
But now they can, but they have to send their appointee to you,
Tiny can
the
still,
council,
could
yeah,
still
Yeah.
send one in, except
I've chosen not to.
No, well, they haven't committed, they're on a one-for-one payment, they're not paying
Yeah,
a set fee.
yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
So
Okay,
they're-
so
they're not there
it's
anymore.
So
And
they've
then the
chosen
fee.
to go differently,
Okay.
And the
okay.
other thing is that the library board here doesn't accept people outside of Penang.
No,
So therefore you can't have somebody from Tiny on there.
So I take it right out.
Take it right out.
Okay, thank you.
until
Un-
otherwise
unless-
stated in a bylaw
Unless the bylaw changes.
changes, okay,
The Procedure bylaw changes the council.
yeah. So
because
if
the
they
mayor-
were
the
to
mayor can
sign a
put whoever they-
contract
the mayor can
with
put whoever
us,
he wants on here.
okay, so if they were to sign a contract with us for a so set amount per year, as opposed to a pay-as-you-go,
Yep.
then we could revisit the Tiny Township rep on the board.
That would probably be
That's still a
one of
town
their
decision,
conditions that they
correct?
would want,
Yeah.
whether they do or not, I don't know. But if I was Tiny Township and we were paying a set fee,
Yeah,
then I would expect to have representation.
yeah, okay. I haven't heard otherwise. I know we're going into negotiations in August. So I don't know what that's gonna look like, but I think they're choosing to leave it as a status quo, like a year-to-year basis.
Maybe you could just, instead of Tiny Township, just put area, an area resident.
Or a contracted, township, right? If they were to
Yeah,
contract,
yeah,
if they had a contract with us.
would just
But I
leave-
mean, we don't need to have anything in there.
No.
Yeah, I would just
Um,
leave it out.
Because that
Okay.
could be changed,
Well, that's
If
what I was
that
trying to
does
avoid.
happen.
That would have to come back, but I mean, it's
But-
not a big deal. It's just
yeah.
a small amendment.
but it
Yeah.
might be in 5, 10 years, who knows?
I would
Yeah.
take the whole line out.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a comment on the second page,
Okay,
under Code of Ethics of the Board.
oh, just a second, let us go there. This on the second, okay, yeah, I see it.
Number 1, B,
B, okay.
express individual viewpoint by working
Well,
harmoniously.
thank you.
Oh,
with the
yes.
Board. And number D, respect board authority, since individuals may not act on behalf of the board unless specified or designated by the board. This includes interaction with the public, comma, the media, or town council.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Or
Yeah, that should, yeah, we never had that in there, so
No.
it's good.
Printing machine.
And you want specified as opposed to specifically designated by the
Specific
board.
designation. Machine council.
So, yeah,
I'm sorry,
unless,
where was that one down?
so, it says the board unless specifically, she wants unless specified designated by the board.
Yes,
Unless specified, okay.
Yes,
That
thank
sound
you.
correctly?
yes, unless
Specifically-
specified. No, it doesn't, no. you're
No,
right, I
it
missed that.
sounds funny.
No, thank you.
Unless,
Of
If
the
I'm on
board
council-
unless specifically,
If I'm on-
unless designated by the board. Can we take specifically out?
We
Yeah.
certainly
Oh, yeah,
Completely?
yeah, that's a good idea, yeah, just take
Sounds
that.
better.
designated.
Unless designated by the board.
Yeah,
What would you, what? Hang
So
on.
if you change it to that and I'm in council and somebody asks me a question about council or
Yeah.
about the library,
Yeah,
I can't answer them.
you can,
You
but
can
you
answer them.
wanna be like you. When you're, see, this is very catchy. You're on council and you're on the board. You have to choose your hats wisely. I always choose the word hats because for one thing, you're gonna wear one hat and the other thing, you're gonna wear the other hat. So if you're on council and you're at a meeting and somebody says, well, what's going on with the hours? You want to choose your words wisely so you're not bad mouthing the library, you're supporting the library. So you want to say, the board is presently working on the hours, you know, that kind of thing. You're not gonna say, well, we're shut down. You know what I mean? You wanna be in support of your library because you stand on that board, right? So in the Library Act, it designates that if you're on the board, you should be supporting your library. Like,
that's right.
you don't want to go around the community bad mouthing everybody and, you know, that kind of stuff. So basically, that's what that states. You want to have that respect of your board, and as well, those board members that are on council are representative of the board. You're supposed to be speaking on behalf of the board. So
That's right, so.
if
someone
you're
asks
saying
you-
something that has not been discussed at the table, then no, you shouldn't be saying it, right?
and if you answer a
logistically-
question, you're answering it as a member of the library board.
Like, yeah,
Not
we've been
as a member of
discussing
town
library
council.
hours, we've been, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think that's what that represents.
Yeah.
It's not saying you can't speak, but you can't just say, well, I'm gonna say this, and it hasn't been mentioned at the board level, and your other teammates aren't aware of it. You know what I mean? It'd be the same thing at council. You're saying something and then none of the other council are aware, and they're looking at you like, what are you talking about, right? You're a team up there and you're representing the town, so it's the same principle to me, right?
I would think similarly if you're represent on the recreation department and, you know, the arena and the parks and so
Yeah.
on, that, you know, you're on those committee, you know,
Yeah, it's no
boards and
different.
that's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Are you on other committees?
Yeah.
Like what?
Economic development,
Ooh, that's a good one.
planning and development, finance.
So, yeah.
Okay, so who from town council, is somebody from town council on the museum board?
Doug LaRue.
Okay, so if Doug LaRue was asked a question about the museum, he would be expected to answer the question as a member of the museum board, not as a member of town council. He's going to answer it in support of the museum.
Or give a personal opinion that is contrary to what the board
Has been
has
speaking of,
agreed.
yeah.
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 That's the way I interpret it. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
Go off.
Can't fly off the cuff and just say
yeah.
things, right?
A
You
loose
have,
cannon.
you're
Yeah.
working as a team and you want to go out in the community as a team. So you want to, okay, yeah, we're talking about hours. Yeah, we're talking about hours. We're working towards that goal. The board is working towards that goal, right? You don't want to say, well, I think I'm going to say that we're going to be open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You know what I mean? When we haven't discussed it at board level. That's what that means.
I'm gonna have to
You're representing your
excuse
board.
myself. I have to get to my
Yeah.
sister-in-law's.
Oh,
um,
yes, I'm
burial
so
today.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Her burial's at 11, so.
You're gonna be running late.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Pat's
though.
sister?
Yeah, his sister Carol, the youngest of the family, passed away in March. Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, so her burial is
Oh.
today. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank
She's
you.
younger
Thank
than
you for
Pat.
taking the time to
Yeah,
come.
she was only 60. Yeah, cancer. Yeah.
She was probably in high school with my sister-in-law.
Yeah, most likely,
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm trying to think who else was in her class that we were.
Karen, it would have been Karen DeRoche.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
Yeah. I don't know about that age.
Karen's husband has ALS.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's sad. Anyway,
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Irene.
Hey, bye,
you.
Lorraine.
So
I-
who is designated? There's two council that are on the board.
Mhm.
Who is designated to speak regarding the library? When questions are asked, is it just whoever
Either
or,
one of us could answer,
okay,
unless it's directed to one of us.
okay. So,
Typically, I would let Dan do it because he's the more experienced.
okay. And is that something maybe that needs to go to the board and say, well, then this person's gonna be our spokesperson
But
or
what if that person is asked a question directly?
Yeah.
So if you're asked a question.
this time, just because you're asking me, say, well, I can't talk then if I'm not designated. But I think we're mostly talking about if there's something in particular, because it's about respect, like respecting the authority.
So
To me, it's just saying you just can't say something that has not been discussed at this group.
so then should it also include Friends of the Library so that
Of
something,
course.
Yes.
something
Of-
wouldn't happen at the Friends of the Library?
Yes,
Of
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Or,
good.
or the Probus Club, that nothing should be said at the
yes,
Probus Club?
doesn't, would
unless-
that not be in the public?
Yes.
So why,
Organizations, should we change it
So
to
what-
organizations?
why does it need to be changed from? I just feel that this is an attack against me.
No. Why
That
would it
when
be?
you- When you're
against-
talking about council.
Well,
The
anybody
fact-
on town
Anybody
council,
on
yeah,
town
Anybody,
but
the
also
fact that
Benita,
it's
it
coming
would
up
be-
and council members are being singled out. We're already in part of the board, or part of the public and media, so public media things, it's the
So
same,
let's change the wording.
What do you want to change to?
leave it the way it is. If you're gonna narrow it down and say council, then we should be saying Probus, we should be saying Friends of the Library,
So-
we should be saying,
So we'll include
Whatever,
interaction with the public, any outside organizations?
Yes,
Yeah, sure.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's
That
more
kind of
general.
covers everything,
And
the-
right?
And the media.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll
yes,
include the
media
media.
has to stay in there, yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Coun-
huge thing.
council-
Social media,
coun-
that covers
Yeah.
everything.
council's
Yeah.
open to the media. So media is already covered with council.
Yeah,
think-
but we're talking organizations.
So I
We're
think,
covering organizations, like you said, Friends, Propus.
so I think when you say media, Linda, and I could be wrong, so just when I'm writing, or like Linda and I are discussing the policy for me to write it.
Yeah.
I think my understanding when Linda and I were discussing
So-
this is, so let's just say, the news, so VR, it's not VR News, CTV News comes in to the store and says to you, can you please make a comment on drag queen story time?
Yeah.
So that I think is what she means. Or if I'm out in the public
Media.
and someone
Yeah.
says to me, they don't realize that I work for the library, but they would make that comment to me.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
You can't express a personal opinion.
Well,
No,
And I
regardless,
think
but yes, but I would,
that's-
even if it
because
were
that's
work,
when
well, I work at
you
the library and
lose
I
respect.
support the program at the library. I wouldn't say that.
No.
Like,
No, you don't have an opinion.
no.
exactly. There's no
So-
comment.
I always just say, thank you.
But no, but I think that's what, am I understanding that correctly
Yes.
as I'm reading? Yes?
Social
Okay.
media, for
So
me,
social
media is
media?
social media, radio, that kind of thing. So, yeah,
Even, yeah,
Posting
even
an
in your.
opinion
It's
on
public.
Facebook,
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So should I change that as well to add social media as well as
No,
media?
that's under
Okay.
media.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
saying if they came and they asked me, drag queen, I could not speak against it because the library policy is that they're for.
You can't give your personal opinion
You're a board member.
You have to represent the board.
You
unless the
have to
board
represent,
says
even though you may
this-
not agree. There are things I don't
Yeah.
agree
Yeah,
about,
I'm-
right? There are
And
things.
just to be clear, when we had the discussion at board level about the drag queen, I was not opposed to
Oh,
the
no,
drag queen.
and I'm just
No,
using that as an
no.
I
example.
was not opposed to it.
No, we're just
My,
talking
my
that we
opposition
can't.
at that time was the expending of the
Yes,
money
no,
to
Yes.
pay for a
And please don't
performer's
take
event.
this wrong. That was just an example. So if they came in and talked to you about, the angels being moved or
Yeah,
like something, but it
anything,
affected the
right?
library in some way. That's all I
You
think
can't,
Linda's
you
saying.
can't say, oh, it's costing us this kind of money.
and it's
So-
the same with the school board, I can't go out and, I can't post
Yeah.
something derogatory about the
Yeah.
Protestant Separate School Board and say, well,
You
something
really
about
have to,
how the school is so crowded.
you really,
It's,
you really
know,
have
you
to take a
be
step
careful.
back.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
Like, that's what I find, sometimes I find it hard because I
personal
see
opinion
things on
isn't-
social media and I want to say,
Oh, yeah,
no, that's
exactly.
not
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, that's
but I
right.
can't. I cannot
Yeah.
get into that political aspect
No,
or that keyboard war, as we
That's what I
call
was gonna
it,
call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
because you,
on that Kennedy
some
community
people,
board,
yeah, you cannot,
I've seen
yeah,
stuff that I'd love to say something,
and you
but
can't.
I can't.
You really,
You see, it's,
Something about the school board or about the
You
library.
can't-
and I just can't
somebody's
get
asking
involved.
me something as a board member, then I'd be supporting the board. If they're asking me my personal opinion,
That's what,
on
yeah.
the board matter or the library matter, that's where this
Don't have-
has
you don't
to
have a
happen,
personal- You
unfortunately.
don't have a
What
personal
if
I
opinion.
do,
something-
I do in council.
What if something asks someone?
Well,
in
you
the
can
media-
do it at this table, at the board table.
Yes,
Absolutely.
but you
just not to the
can't,
public.
just you with Joe Schmo, that cannot happen.
Okay, so at the last council meeting, there was a thing about election ballots.
Oh, I saw that, yes.
And I spoke out for paper ballots.
Yes, I love that, thank you, because a lot of people,
So
Don't
if that
have
goes
internet.
through,
yeah,
then we'll have paper ballots. We'll be
Perfect.
the only municipality in this area
Yes.
that has it. If I was opposed to paper ballots, and
Yes.
somebody came and said, well, I see you're gonna have paper ballots.
Yeah.
What are they supposed to say?
You're supposed to say the board has decided.
the council has
Discuss it
decided
at public
this
deputation.
procedure or this process would take place. I am part of that council. That's it. Because the minute you,
I can say that right now, it still has to go to council. That was going to be
Yes.
the whole, so council was going to be the final thing.
Of
It could be-
course.
It could be overturned.
whether people like it
And
or
then-
not,
And then
yeah,
somebody says, well, how come we didn't get it?
say,
Or,
it
you know,
didn't
or
get
did you-
approved
were
at
you for it? I
council.
can say, well, I was in favor of it, but the board, the
Exactly,
council
you
went
can say
against it.
that.
Yeah.
You can say that.
I was in
because
favor
it's-
of that. And that's okay.
Because I can say that what I'm in favor of, nobody's gonna change that from there. If there's a policy that I like, I have to respect the fact that whatever is decided,
Yep.
Yes.
but that doesn't mean I have to approve of it. and it doesn't mean that
Exactly.
I have to remain
But then
you.
that's where you can't put your personal opinion. You should just finish off your sentence with, I did not support that. End of story. Or I supported that.
So is that not where a deputation might come in? So if someone has questions or concern as to what a library decision was made, a board decision, can you not say to the person out in the public, because this is what I've done, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, you know,
It
you're
came
more than
to a
welcome to
vote.
talk to
It
the
came-
board.
Yes, at the
Yeah.
board as a
Yes.
whole,
Yes.
just not, an individual cannot
Yes.
act.
When someone comes and
On their
complains
own.
about a policy,
Individually,
you're
on
more
their
than
own.
welcome to
No,
yeah,
that's right.
come talk to the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The deputation
That's
form is
where it
available
gets
online.
tricky, right? And
So-
it can get you into trouble.
Even
So
with
you,
town council, you have to be careful. I got an email yesterday, I think, about a new parking policy on
Mhm.
oh, I
Main
saw that,
Street,
yeah.
Peel.
Yep.
There's limits.
Rogers, yep.
Yeah, so how would you handle it if you didn't agree with that policy?
I'm on
And-
a committee that created the parking policy.
Oh, okay, well, so pretend you weren't.
Pretend you weren't.
What if you were asked by one of your, what if somebody came in and they were really angry
Upset,
about it?
yeah.
Really upset.
Like, how
And they
you
do.
you have to be careful how you
Yeah.
respond.
I get,
You have to support the
Yeah.
town,
I
the
probably
committee, the town council.
decision.
But yeah, you
You
have to support the decision
decision,
in front of
whether
the
you
public,
like it or not.
whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You don't have an opinion
Yeah.
negative.
I doubt that there's a week goes by that I don't have at least 20 people come in and talk to me. I'm-
Well,
And
you
not
you
that-
just,
not-
I can always take that to the board
Not
on
that-
your behalf.
Yeah.
Not that
Take
the
that
other
to the board.
counselors are
council.
not approachable, but I'm right there. They can walk.
You're
around.
in the business, they
Yeah,
can see you,
Yeah,
yeah, so they're
Yeah,
gonna come,
they
other
know
people
where
get
you are.
emails and calls.
they
But
know
they
where to
walk
find
in, they
you.
walk in and find me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they wanna see a face,
So
they
they'll
wanna
come
see
in
the face, yeah.
and I got a parking ticket.
Yeah.
So I can't do anything but a parking ticket.
No, of course not. It's
But-
not your
But I can
decision,
take your objection
yeah,
to the board.
So
Yeah.
what I tell them is send me an email.
Yeah.
As long as I have an email, or this is who you have to send, and if you know, CC me on the email, then I can follow up on it.
of
Right.
course,
Yeah.
But then they can't.
yeah.
So,
But that's not your personal opinion. You're taking
but they
that
can ask me
on.
why, why is it 2-hour parking here and 4-hour here? I can tell them the reason why it's 2 there and why it's
Yeah.
4
And
there.
that's not a personal opinion. A personal opinion would be, I don't agree with this nonsense. I don't think that this should be 2 hours, this should be 4 hours. That's a
Yeah.
personal opinion,
I don't like library hours.
right? That's a
Yeah.
personal opinion.
Yeah.
But when you say, this is why it is, and it's a group decision, it's not my decision, it was made as a whole. That's just facts. Pointing at,
So
Yeah.
right now they have half-hour parking, or 2-hour parking in the main street,
okay,
and I'd like to see that lowered. I'd prefer half an hour, an hour.
a lot of people park there for a long time. You're right, and it can be a detriment,
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I have to, it's
No.
through it too.
That's
That
right.
doesn't mean I have to.
it's a
You'll be
happy
process,
that it is.
and
Can you imagine if they ever put up parking meters in town?
I'm
Even
surprised that
Midland
there
didn't-
aren't
didn't-
any.
didn't work.
Midland, it didn't work. They're still having a committee about that. But anyway, off track, but
Yeah.
that's the difference. There's a personal opinion where you speak on behalf of yourself. And then there's an opinion of this is what this group decided to do. And whether I like it or not, this is the decision that was made. We're moving forward and
When you're out in public too, if you're at a group event and
say,
someone is talking to you about the library, it's not the place to give your personal opinion about the
No.
library.
but if they're fussing
It's a
about the
small
hours,
town.
say, you know what? There are changes coming. We are working to, and that's what I say.
Yeah.
We had one yesterday and I said, you know what? The board is working towards, goals that we
Improve,
have and we are improving.
Yeah.
This is the hours. These are the current hours. Perhaps in the near future, there will be other hours. Because if I tell them today that the hours are changing, first, tomorrow morning, they're gonna be there and going, "Oh, it's just 7." But that's how I do it. The board has made a decision and this is how it is. So that's,
You can't speak
and there
for
are
the board.
things
though.
sometimes
Like,
that I
it
don't
has to be
agree,
what
but-
has happened.
Yeah.
Correct.
right? So, yeah.
All right, so I've got that.
Yeah.
So,
I would like the line left the way it is.
Okay,
So
can
with-
we add well, public covers everything.
Yes.
You're out in the public, you just,
whatever, you just tell me what to do.
watch your
I'm
T's.
just the
that's all.
secretary.
Yeah,
Just be careful when you're out in public that
Yeah.
you're not speaking in a derogatory manner about the library because you never know who's listening.
and be loyal. Be
Be
loyal to your.
Yes, be
Okay,
loyal.
I love that. Loyalty and unity.
Yeah.
It's true. We work
Yeah.
together
Yep. We're
to
working for
provide the
betterment-
ultimate service.
Yeah, for the betterment of the library, to provide the best library services for the people of Penetang that we
Exactly.
can.
So I'm good with all the rest.
So no changes or changes?
Just leave it to this includes interactions with the public or the media. I
Okay,
need the
so take
media
that.
in there
Yeah,
because
I
that
agree.
covers social and
Yeah.
everything.
So
right.
back to the way it was?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Except
Thank you.
for the word specifically.
Oh, yes.
So designated. Okay.
Designated.
All right,
Yeah, we're
let's-
So
dropping.
we're doing that, we're making that change.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. We're good.
Any
Thank
other
you.
changes that are really, I didn't
Board
see any,
policy?
but.
Oh, just
Um,
one comment about, putting the changes in red. It looks great on the screen,
Okay.
but when we see it in black and white, it's just a fainter color of
Oh,
black.
I'm sorry, I can print it in
Oh,
color, that's
yes.
my fault, I just
Oh,
assumed, I
no,
just
I
think
don't
that,
want you to- no, no,
I
don't
take
want
the
you to
cheaper
waste
option.
No, no, don't waste,
No,
your
but that's a
color.
good point when
Yeah.
they're
Put it
looking
in-
at them in
put it in
computer or
Put
okay,
it
even
in
here,
bold.
it would be nice for you guys to see the changes.
Well, there was one
there
that
was,
was
the
in
track
red.
changes should
Yeah.
be there,
Yeah.
yeah.
But like, for
Okay, I
example,
apologize, I'll do
on,
that.
where, B, procedures for meetings, and then B, agenda, there's quite a
Yeah.
few changes.
Yes,
to the
those are all
agenda.
track changes, I'm not sure how if I can highlight
Yeah,
that or
I was
anything, but I will
thinking
double
of,
check,
Well,
bold-
that's the
bold
cross
might-
out is.
yeah.
Yeah, the
The
cross
strike-
out
the
is
strike
perfect,
through
the
is
strike
fine.
through is
Yeah.
perfect. But when it's, the whole sentence is a change, maybe bold it rather than put it in red, because it just comes out
Okay,
a
Yes.
lighter color of gray.
okay, I can do that. for
Yeah,
you,
but
no,
don't waste
that's
your,
not an
don't
issue.
waste your color, toner.
And I just, again, some housekeeping responsibilities of the chief executive officer.
What that is under, oh, right here, okay,
The board shall employ a chief librarian,
All right.
I forgot, thank you.
and I'm not sure under procedures for meetings number 4, should cancel have 2 Ls?
No.
I always like it
Oh.
with 2 Ls. I think
Okay.
both,
Well,
I think both.
One's
Right?
American, one's Canadian, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
okay.
it's just,
Sure, no problem, I can do that.
yeah.
It's like color, right? You,
Yeah.
you, and all the rest,
Oh,
yeah,
I
okay,
know.
yeah.
Okay, good.
So yeah, so the track changes were basically just the new variation of the
The
format.
agenda, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Bill, did you
Okay.
have something?
Just
Sorry.
on the budget, number 7.
Sorry, let me
Where are
find
we
it.
at?
Budget,
I
which
don't have the
page,
page
sorry?
number.
It's such a long,
It is a long one.
Where is
Code
it?
of conduct.
Is that under finance? No, code of conduct?
Finance committee? No?
Well,
just
the
trying to
top of
find
the page reads, Penntech Public Library Board is a bilingual, community-oriented partner.
Oh, yes, I see it.
I'm finding it.
Whatever that page number is.
Oh, okay, I got it. Code of conduct, yes. And
So do
sorry,
you-
where are we going?
So number 8,
Code of conduct.
The DAPS for submission is.
so we have the budget meets the mission, primary roles of the library as recommended by the CEO and approved by the board.
All agreement, can I change
Sure.
that?
Oh, yeah, it's always approved by the
Yeah,
board.
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I was just probably missing a word.
Because the way that is,
It's like I
we're left
can,
out of the loop.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's not like
That's-
that at
no,
all.
it should be, no.
Yeah.
We must have done this one on a
Good
Friday
catch.
afternoon.
Well, you know what? When you look at too many
Yeah.
of these, you go, okay, what did that say?
Yeah, you need to take a break.
Yeah.
Is there any others? And it doesn't help, I apologize again, that the way it printed.
Okay, so that's all good, I think. Conduct of meeting, we're all good there. Okay, rules, debate. Other than that, I don't think there was, emotions. Those, that's.
So I
when
do
we're
have
on
something,
video.
Linda, that we wanted to talk about. One, is this up to date? 68 kilometers? 68 cents a kilometer? You know?
It's 63.5 is what the town is at. She sent me the whole grid. And
That's traveling kilometers?
yeah,
63.5.
0.5.
63.5.
That's the
Okay.
new rate.
Daily living allowance at $40.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Oh my gosh. Are we still on the same policy?
Yes, well, it's the
Oh, yes,
expenditures.
yes, I see.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got
Addendum
that.
A.
Wow, that's outdated, that $40.
Oh.
When you guys go to a conference, what happens?
So we don't get anything in town. So.
No, of course not. But when
there's
you're
no
like
mi-
in
there's no
Toronto
mileage in-
or,
No mileage in town.
no,
Typically, I don't think anybody would ever submit a claim if they went to Medellin or something.
no.
Um,
I'm talking like if you go to
Like if you go to
Toronto or
Ottawa.
Ottawa or, you know?
So well, the only one I've gone to, well, I have gone others. The only one that I've ever been paid for was Ottawa.
Okay,
You get paid by a half day. And a full
okay.
day and a half day. And I don't know what the figures are, but it probably should be aligned with whatever the town is. I can find that out for you.
Yes, please.
I think it's $40 for a half day, 60 for a full day.
So it would go up.
It would go up.
That would, it's
So
$40 a
I'll give you
day.
a perfect example. So I went to conference and, okay, when you stay at a hotel, breakfast is usually included, correct?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well,
Usually.
usually, yeah, I try to find
These
hotels
days,
that have
yeah.
that, just because I'm cheap. And I'm on a budget. But you go to lunch,
Oh, yeah.
there's no Tim Hortons around.
But
Holy
there's
moly.
meals in here. There's meals.
I know, but
$40 a day.
a day, $40, go for dinner. Like,
Okay, so-
dinner's
but there's two-
expensive, so I
there's two-
paid out of pocket.
But there's 2 lines here. Daily living allowance. What does that mean? When meals are included down here?
So you have to do
No.
a breakdown.
Yeah,
So that's what it's asking
So
for.
with the town, you get a set fee.
yeah,
Which is, again, I'm not sure what it was. I think it's 40 and 60. Then you also get your meals. They're limited on what they'll pay for meals.
Okay,
Yeah.
So that's not how our
Like-
policy is at all.
ours is $15 for lunch. It's 40 for the day, so
Yeah.
figure that out. That's
So you
not a
do what
whole
you
lot,
can do with
Yeah.
the $40.
you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
so-
not,
So I
Why-
paid out of pocket.
it's not a moneymaker.
No, no, but I'm going to get educated, but I'm paying out of pocket again.
So if you have to pay for all 3 meals.
Yeah, that's
So
huge.
this daily living allowance, it shouldn't have a line of its own then.
No, I don't
I
know.
don't know why it does. That's been there
Oh,
forever.
yeah,
I didn't put that in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say, okay, so there's lodging, there's the conference cost, or if there is a cost. And then there's your meals. Well, there's travel too, but I didn't even know what that was. I had to call at the town and say, what is the kilometers? I don't even know how much it is.
So this
So-
daily living allowance should be taken out of
Yes.
here and put somewhere the daily living allowance is, and then you break it down
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
so-
what I would say.
Okay,
That
so I
form's
can-
a little wonky.
Yeah, I didn't create the form, so I'm just,
No.
Yeah.
we can recreate this.
Yeah.
That's not an issue.
On your meals, you have to have the receipt,
Yes,
not a credit card slip.
yes.
Your meals do not include tips
No tips, no alcohol.
and no alcohol.
Yeah,
And
that I
so-
knew.
Okay. So the lodging, there's no limit on that, or like,
We have a
That's
bu-
not
budget.
We have a
in
line.
budget. We have a budget line, yeah.
okay, so, but is it in this daily living allowance
No.
No,
amount?
no,
Okay,
because it depends where you go.
I know.
If
I
you
know,
go to
that's why
Toronto,
really
it's
high.
astronomical. That's why I try not to
Okay.
go to Toronto.
Do you think
So-
that was the hotel fee? The daily living allowance was $40 a night?
No,
No.
no, that's just
So-
the meal.
Oh.
You're,
So I can take
you're-
that rate out. Like
Mhm.
if that's
Yeah,
finding
take
anyone
that out.
confusing, we'll take it out. And then, I think, to be honest with you, if Bill, going on by what Bill's saying, Linda, if we put in here, so one of these should be half day.
That would be good, because sometimes when we go to network meetings and stuff,
Yeah.
that's a half day.
So,
So,
and then the figure beside it,
yeah,
okay, and then the other is a full day
yes.
No,
and the cost beside it.
You
And then
think
maybe I
it's
should
60?
have,
I'd be surprised.
I think it is. But then the other thing too is we don't get a paycheck for being there either.
Yeah,
no,
So
but,
it's different.
and I'm only speaking from experience because
Yeah.
I had a husband who was employed by the municipality.
yep,
And this was in effect for him. He got paid, but he was also entitled to this.
You still
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
husband?
I do.
yes.
He just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
He works for me now.
But you're correct.
Yeah.
You're
So-
correct. So, I mean, the days of having $5 for a breakfast, that's,
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, your meals are above that. The $40, $60, or whatever is just
Allows you to eat.
just
Yeah.
like for your coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. You forgot your toothbrush. Those kind of expenses while you're out.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, Linda and I are very frugal.
Oh
It's
my
very
God.
often,
I always
it's
look for the
rare
cheapest
that we
frickin'
would use
place.
this because
Yeah.
we tend to pack our lunch if we go
Yes.
somewhere.
Yeah.
But the point is, if we're sending a staff member on training somewhere, it's not fair to ask them to do the same thing. Like, it's not right. There's a policy in place for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I'm fully confused.
Okay.
Great.
So we need to be unconfused.
Yes.
So is the daily living allowance coming right out?
Taking that rate out
Yes.
of the
Okay,
sheet.
so then,
I don't know why
where
it's
are
in
we putting in half day?
I can
Where
add
it says
that.
meals, then I would say,
So it's basically covering meals,
yeah.
so that goes
And
under.
toothbrush and stuff,
Me-
that
me-
I was not
no.
aware of.
No, I
You
wouldn't,
forget
I
your
wouldn't use
toothbrush,
that.
that's out of your own
Basically, it's
pocket.
allowed,
Yeah,
you're allowed,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my mistake.
Yeah.
It- Basically, it would be for food,
Yeah.
really. I mean, I
And
agree
it's
with Linda.
up to that amount.
Yeah.
You spend more than that with
That's on
tips
you.
and
So
you
this
get
is
drinks,
a-
that's
so
on
basically
you.
Then it's a meal allowance.
Yeah.
Based on a half day conference.
And
or a
full day.
conference.
Yes.
Okay.
When
that
I
make
was-
sense?
Now I'm,
When I was in the OPP band, we were reimbursed for our meals. Usually the accommodation was taken care of by corporate communications. but
Yeah.
We were allowed so much for breakfast, and we had to have a receipt, so much for lunch, and so much for dinner. But if we were going to have all 3 meals, it was just, we could just claim a flat
flat
rate. And of
yeah.
course, this is quite a while ago, but I don't know what it is now, but it was, dinner, I remember was $20. Lunch was maybe 12 and breakfast 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
But you got it all up and you didn't have to specify what the meal was if it was a full day event.
And that's something that you guys can put too. You can decide, okay, well, this is per meal, like this is the amount we're giving, or you do the flat rate. If you're doing per meal, keep in mind, there's not a Tim Hortons
exactly,
everywhere,
yeah. You might have
right?
to have
Where
a-
I went, there
yeah.
wasn't a Tim Hortons,
No,
and I was
there's
like,
dollars, yeah.
I'm not getting my Tim Hortons, oh my God.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's unusual.
yeah, it
Tim
is,
Hortons policy is to be
is.
within 15 minutes of anywhere you are.
Yeah, but it was not, and
Travel to Sudbury.
there was this little diner.
Okay.
So, I
Anyway.
mean, I was lucky enough that the hotel I stayed at had breakfast,
Yeah.
but some people didn't, like Springwater. She was in a, what is that called? Like a bed and breakfast, and she didn't have that.
breakfast?
Not a bread and breakfast. What's it called? Like an inn.
Airbnb.
That's it. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Bill, does the town have an amount that they reimburse people if you are at a conference and you have to buy your breakfast? If you have to buy your lunch, if you have to buy your dinner, is there an amount?
Or is it just flat fees? Good question.
Or do you want to defer this once we have, so when we have the information?
I would
Defer.
defer. to
Okay.
what you guys decide.
Okay.
Let's make sure we
They
have the
must-
right
they must have
info.
a per
I'm
meal
pretty-
amount. that you
I'm
can
pretty sure
claim.
there's a flat fee that you get
Okay,
just to cover your incidentals,
okay.
like a toothbrush or whatever.
Do you have to
Really?
include your food in that?
No, and then you do your meals are above,
Oh,
so you get your meals as well.
Okay.
An incidental, I wouldn't put that
For
in the
me,
policy.
I wouldn't put that in our
No.
policy, honestly.
When I go,
Just go to the
Yeah.
hotel desk, they'll give you a toothbrush.
That's what I
Yes,
mean.
they do.
yeah, so when I go, I never charge per meal because I can do it anyway, so I'm not gonna pass that on to the town.
Mm. Well, I get, that's an
But that's a
individual
personal
choice.
decision.
Yeah,
The other
yeah.
ones do.
Now, I've been in a workplace before where the policy was, okay, you get 15 for breakfast, 20 for lunch, 25 for that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I've also been on this end where it was $40 for the day, and I went, okay, so I'm paying extra because,
that's not enough.
right?
today.
Mhm.
No, well,
So I ended up paying out of pocket, which, I mean, I had to eat, so, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on where you are. Like
Well,
I went to.
the cheapest dinner I had was $22.
Well, yeah, and I'm thinking,
Add tax on top of that, you're like, oh God.
I'm thinking at
I-
least $75 a day. for
I
three
took the
meals.
minister over to Dylan's Pizza,
Oh,
$85.
I was gonna say,
I know.
that's an expensive treat. But you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm a minister too.
Oh,
I have a
yeah.
doctorate of divinity.
Oh, you know what? If I'm around here and I'm going to a CO meeting and I'm gonna pay myself, I'm gonna pay out of my own. I don't charge that to the library. But if I'm going to conference to learn,
That makes sense.
yeah, I'm, especially if they're not providing meals, then yeah,
So when I go, if we're at quite often there'd be a lunch served.
yeah,
So there's nobody you can't claim for lunch if there's a lunch served.
exactly.
Yeah,
No,
that makes
no,
sense.
you're
No,
right.
no,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course
yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't claim for breakfast if it's included in.
No,
In my
exactly.
hotel, yeah.
Yeah.
But you would have your supper. Again, like I said, I don't claim for anything because I figure I gotta eat anyways, and I'm not in it.
Yeah, I always look for the least expensive place.
Yeah.
But I was very surprised at this place. I was like,
Well, I
then-
would,
Thank
I
God for
would
my credit card.
suggest a per meal, that would make me feel most comfortable, a per meal.
For maximum.
Max,
Yeah.
rather than a half day or a full day.
because then you
That's
know,
ambiguous.
know.
Exactly.
Like-
So, I mean,
because if you say half day, what if my breakfast is included? And then I say, well, it's a half day. I'm allowed my $40.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'm comfortable with the meal cost.
So am I, and I would
Right?
suggest a $15 breakfast,
Yeah.
maybe a $25 lunch and a $40 dinner.
I'm
That-
sorry, what was
That
that?
brings us up to about $80 a day.
I'm sorry, what was that, Kathy?
15
15
for
for
breakfast.
breakfast?
For
Breakfast,
breakfast?
yeah.
What was for lunch?
In Parliament, you order an $11 orange juice.
Yeah.
Oh, mine wasn't that expensive. Oh, my lunch
Yeah,
was
that's
very
almost-
expensive. I
yeah.
couldn't believe it. I was
So a
like,
$15 breakfast.
Okay.
$25
$25 for lunch is should cover. I mean, if you're in an
Would think
area
so.
where you can go to
If you're
a, you
eating
know,
at the hotel all the time, no, it's
It's-
not
okay,
going to.
But if
No.
I'm at a conference and I choose to eat up and above what's budgeted, that's on me.
That's your.
that's
Oh, yes,
right.
yes,
That's
it
what we're
is that.
saying.
That-
That's
yeah,
what we're saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I would say.
But I think it's fair.
Yeah.
$40 for a dinner is.
And that, there's no
not-
alcohol and no tipping involved in that.
No alcohol, so I'll,
Yeah.
It's not always easy
And
to
that-
find either,
That would be
$40
subject to
these
whatever the
days.
receipt is or a flat fee.
So let's say I go to dinner
Mhm.
and it costs me, well, $40. Like if it costs me $35, then my dinner's covered,
That's right.
$35.
You don't get
That's the
40.
tax. If I'm tipping the person, 20%, whatever, that's on me. If I'm having a drink, that's on me. I can only
Yeah.
claim the meal and the tax.
So,
Okay.
so if my
So
meal's
And the tax
20,
comes back to us
So that would be a
anyways.
meal to a
to a
maximum of
maximum
whatever.
of.
Yes, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because if I'm at Tim's,
To a
it's not gonna
maximum.
cost, I hope, dear God, I hope it's not gonna cost me $15, but everything's going up so much. But it should only cost me like maybe a muffin and a coffee, right? So that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Anyway, if we find out that it does, you know,
Or do we do, or a maximum of $80 a day?
yeah.
Because I might not choose to have breakfast or lunch. I might just choose to have dinner.
Yeah, but if you're paying $40 for dinner, holy moly.
Okay,
Well,
so then that's fine too. If you want to
yeah.
break it down, this is what you get.
Yeah,
Either
but
use it or
I-
lose it.
Yeah, I'd rather see
Okay,
it break
that's fine.
broken down.
Yeah, otherwise it
Because,
leaves you
let's
willy-nilly
get
to
breakfast.
anything else, to me anyway.
I'll skip breakfast and lunch and.
I'll have
the
lobster
$80
for dinner, yeah. Right? That's,
That's what-
if I'm thinking it, somebody's done it. I'm just saying.
So is everyone comfortable with that and not deferring it, or would you like it deferred to reflect?
Hers is fine.
So is everyone
I think
happy
it
with that
sounds-
motion?
I think it sounds
Okay,
fair.
so the motion,
Yeah.
punching machine, library. Amend,
And the $63,
Of?
the 63.5.
Oh,
per
that's,
kilometer,
63 cents. per kilometer.
Yeah, you know what the CRA rate is right now?
Did it
For
go up
personal?
Did it
Oh,
go up?
34 cents.
for personal? Cause I know for medical, it's 50 something, 50 cents.
Well, maybe my CRA was out of date, but we just looked it up for Provis.
Okay,
Oh,
that's,
okay.
I do medical all the time. Cause
Okay.
no coverage
Yeah.
for certain,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's 50,
For medical.
Yeah.
54 cents, 54
Yeah,
cents
I
or
think it was
55,
50
something
when I-
like that.
yeah.
'Cause,
Now, the
yeah, you-
corporate rate is
Yeah.
higher. The corporate.
no, this is travel. Oh, the corporate rate,
corporate
yes.
rate, the CRA. corporate
That's the
rate.
town's rate,
So that
the
must be
government
the-
rate.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
must be the corporate rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I got directly from Christine at the
Okay.
town. I was surprised.
So it's
At that.
68 cents is not accurate then?
No, it's
63.5 cents
Okay.
per kilometer.
Whatever the town charges.
Yeah, that's what it is because she gave me that rate.
When I go to county, I don't even charge them for that.
Well, if I'm out
But
and about
that's-
in our area, I don't
Well, that's your
charge.
So that's
Personal.
just- that's
But
my
if
personal
I
preference.
go, if I'm going to conference or I have to go to a school in like wherever, Toronto or something, then yeah. If it's my area, I don't. We go to CEO meetings in Innisfil all over the place. I don't charge.
when I go to the post office, I don't charge. When I have to go out to
No.
Chigimik for a session, I don't charge.
Nope.
It just, so, I am going to read the motion, but I'm going to add in here as well that I put in the motion that it's amended for employees and board, because this is only the
Mhm.
board one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, board expense.
Yes.
Okay.
So it'll be for both.
Oh.
Yeah, if I
didn't even
say,
see that.
yeah, if you guys go to
We
conference,
get lunch then.
Wow.
if you go to conference or something, those costs are covered for you as well.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. They've always been. It's just, they were just outdated.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should cover employees.
She's limping. I'm limping the opposite leg. We gotta tie ourselves together so we can walk normal. It's her left knee, it's my right knee.
Me, it's my right hip.
My hip too, but I think it's because of my knee.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's walking all those hills.
Wow.
All right, so with this, other than that, this is all set then, this policy, we
No,
think?
I have one more thing.
Oh, okay, which one?
The voting procedure.
What is that under now? 'Cause I'm-
r-
Is it,
uh,
is it under emotions? Is it under
right above emotions.
voting?
Sorry.
Voting, right above. Okay, I got
A
it.
member who refuses to
Voting
vote
procedure.
shall be deemed to vote in the affirmative.
Okay,
That's-
let me read it. When the vote is called, every member present shall vote on us.
Yeah, I saw that too,
A member
did.
who refuses to vote shall be deemed to vote in the affirmative.
but I didn't change it because it was already in the policy.
Yeah, that's.
That should be negative.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's weird.
yeah, that was,
Usually the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Is it
Bill, what
because
was
they
that?
just didn't bother to lift their hand up? Is that why they're saying it's affirmative?
I think they have to say, don't they
Voting
have to
procedures.
say,
I thought you had to
Abstain?
say, I'm against.
oh,
No,
No, it goes to the negative if they
You
yeah,
refuse
it
to
goes
vote.
to
you can just
negative.
sit back and do nothing. And that's.
And I
that's
looked
negative.
that up in the Roberts Rules of Reference as well,
Mhm.
but I mean,
Why
it's
would
not
it
mine
say
to change.
affirmative? Why would it say affirmative? Yeah, well, we'll
That's
change it in
weird.
Yeah.
ours.
In the negative.
And
Okay.
I have
You
one
had
other-
something in emotions, you said? Did you say in emotions?
Above that.
Oh, okay. And then what else?
The other one was on the next page, general terms of reference.
Okay, yes,
You have the CEO and secretary to the board shall attend all committee meetings.
Yes.
I don't know that it needs to be both. There's no reason why both can't be, but
no, I think because you're the CEO, your role is
And
different. I'm the secretary. I'm
secretary, yeah.
appointed secretary to the board. So my job is to attend all the committee hearings.
okay.
And Linda, as a CEO, is expected to attend all committee meetings as well.
It's like the mayor.
Yeah, the mayor doesn't attend them all, the CEO doesn't attend them all.
Yeah.
They can.
If it's something that I mean, if I'm away on vacation or something and it's not something I need to attend, I mean, I will trust, but most of the time it's something I have to answer. I'm sure there'll be something I have to answer.
Mhm.
Right? Because I know the business of the library. So that's why they put it in there.
I mean, if the board chair is has to attend them all, then you both certainly should.
Yeah. Well, it's because
Even-
you're gonna have
You're-
questions,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So-
Even the board chair doesn't need to be at all meetings.
Well, it says right here. though.
Well, in yours, maybe it does, but
Yeah, I guess maybe it's in the library app,
in
I
ours,
can double check that.
then
but-
the co-chair would take over.
because I know.
Yeah, but we
the,
don't have a co-chair. So that's why, like in the committees, we don't have co-chairs.
There is a
Yeah.
co-chair.
Oh, that's right too.
Yes,
Which is why when.
And I don't chair all of the committee meetings.
No.
Which is why when you were sick,
yes.
that's why I said to you
canceled.
that we really should be postponing it.
Yeah.
Not that we
I
have to.
thought you were the chair.
Yeah, that's what,
Yes, we didn't have to,
and we weren't gonna have
At
quorum.
the town,
was
we would
my
not have
issue.
had to do that.
Yeah.
But I felt that it was important that she should be here.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
But I wasn't.
But
I
now
wasn't-
we
I wasn't
have more-
ordering you to do it or
No,
anything, but-
no. But we have more quorum now too, because now we have Doreen, right? So it's good to have more parties on the
Yeah.
committee because it's just, yeah.
Because had Beth not been here, it would have been you and Kathy.
So I'm on here, but it's basically to answer questions. I don't vote, right? I don't vote. I'm just basically, if you have a question for
Answer
me,
questions, yeah.
I'm here to answer or say, well,
Rather
you
than us
know.
have to say, well, we'll ask Linda and see what she
So,
says.
Yeah.
and
you
I
know.
think it's a little bit different because there are only Linda and I here, right? We don't have a municipal staff behind
Yeah.
us doing this. So
Exactly.
Linda has given me direction to do some of these policies. So again, she might say, well, why is this in here? And I'll say, oh, remember Linda, same
Yeah.
as like today, bringing up, we wanted to discuss the mileage and so forth,
Yeah.
or, you know, certain things, we work in conjunction.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, yeah.
I guess my concern is that the way this reads, both of you would have to be here. If something happened that only one of you is here, then we wouldn't be able to have the meeting.
okay, so should we change the wording to that to reflect the meeting can continue? Like, so it's a lot for, like, I wouldn't be able to do it, but Linda, I don't know if Linda could, like,
We did have a board meeting
Outstanding and
where Linda wasn't here.
yes, but in her absence, I am the designated CEO. So that's why we were able
Okay.
to have the board meeting.
Yeah.
So then could you be the designated secretary if she wasn't here?
Yes, and I've done that
Yeah.
before.
No.
So
Because
should
she
we-
was
so-
off for surgery.
Yeah, so
It's doable.
It's doable.
Yeah, but if it's something that pertains that I have to answer questions to,
General terms
it's
of
kind
reference,
of,
Oh, I
point
see.
one.
you're having a meeting and you might
1.4.
say, well, we can't make any decisions. We're lacking information. We'll have to.
So because
Right?
I was
But
appointed,
And or,
well, we can, but I was appointed secretary to the board
Yeah.
Right.
by the board.
Yeah.
So that's
By the
why,
passport.
yes. So that's why.
I used to be the secretary and the treasurer and the CEO.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay, wait a minute. So the board said, can we not, choose another secretary? And I said, absolutely. And so
So-
that's what they did.
Or minutes can be recorded
Yeah.
without the presence of the secretary by the CEO? Would
Because
that
we
work?
have video now, that can be done.
Probably in most situations, you would like to have both there, but I guess I'm
Should,
looking for a note
a note.
that if only one was available, that we can't say, well, we can't do it now because it says thou shalt have.
yeah. The CEO and secretary to the board
Shall attend all committee
should
meetings.
attend.
Should.
That kind of leaves it to should attend all committee meetings. However, because we're recording now, it can say due to the fact that we have
Not
recording,
required.
the meeting can still take place in the absence of one or the other. Does that make
Not-
sense?
So what's another word for not, So-
Would your recording could act as secretary and then be transcribed later?
Recorded
right?
after? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We never had that before,
then-
as in now we
but the
do.
chair could also appoint someone to be the secretary,
Yes,
to be the
that's
recording
right.
secretary if
So
I'm
you
not
could
here.
say the CEO and or secretary to the board
Yeah,
shall attend all, so that's one or the other. maybe.
yes,
Yeah.
Or-
yeah,
Or you could also add, in the absence of both, a recording secretary may be appointed.
yeah.
Okay.
There's always ways around it, especially now that we record it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no both. That's a nice thing with recording.
The committee chair
Yes.
shall appoint a recording secretary.
Yeah.
Does that make
Sure,
sense to everyone?
yeah. Then the meeting can go ahead.
I agree.
Appoint.
And I have another question about Human Resource Committee.
Okay, it's further down, eh? Facility.
1.24
Finance, there we go. Yes?
says it should be advised of potential new hirings.
Sorry, which one was that? Bill? Sorry, finance committee?
Human
What was it?
resources.
Human Resources,
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Which number?
1.24,
Yeah.
and make recommendations to the board in the hiring of employees. That hasn't happened. So this is a new policy?
No, that's the old one. So usually what we put that in the minutes.
Yeah. Where we've gotten a student.
After they're hired.
The CEO hires.
Yeah.
That's under her.
Yeah.
Her
So I'm
domain,
just
not the
advising
board's.
you that I've hired,
This is advised of potential new.
Potential.
that would be like, if you're replacing me, or if I'm replacing Janet, that's a
Janet- yeah,
huge
Janet's retiring.
position. Right? Then I would advise you that this is gonna take place, so we need to hire somebody. But regular staff out there that are budgeted for and things like that, then
Then that's yours.
that's but I still have to let you know that so we've hired 2 students or 1
Mhm.
student, they're starting, that comes with a grant,
Mhm.
But yeah,
What if you decided that you wanted 6 more people in here?
I can, it's not under budget.
Even the
I'd
school
have to
board.
bring it up to a budget and say, okay, so perfect example, we have a finance committee coming up, right? That's when I would bring it up. I'd say, you know what? We need more staff. I'd like to bring it, and that's where I would bring it. But for me to do it just like that, no. That's why it's there.
So should we change the wording?
I just
So
see
this
it.
is like
Be
a new,
advised of new staff?
position, not somebody.
It's
replaced.
not just a replacement there.
Yeah,
Like
so
somebody's
that's what I'm
quit,
reading it as.
It says new staff.
new
And-
staff, a new position.
A
Yeah,
new
so,
position.
so the committee is advised that there's gonna be new staff. And they make the recommendations to the board on the hiring and signing of employment contract.
Yes,
So people are not employed or contract,
so it's not a
Under contract.
replacement, it's a new
a new
employment.
person.
Yes,
New
So you
position.
decide you want a new person to sit in the back corner there.
yep, yeah, then I'd have to come to this,
Yeah, come to
yeah,
the board then and say,
Yeah.
this is what I want.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, you go to the Human Resources Committee.
Yes.
and Then
They
you
do,
bring it
yeah.
to the board.
But
yeah,
if
and
it's-
finance and all
but
that, it's gotta go through budget and stuff, yeah.
But Connie leaves and you want to replace her, then
That's already a
part of
budgeted item,
Okay.
yeah, but I still will let you know, Connie has left, but we've got a new person coming in, you know? But yeah, we would be doing, that way, but if it's not a new person, it has to come to the HR and get approved.
Mhm.
Has to go to budget, finance, and then it has to go to the board, like, that's a whole process, yeah, that's what that means. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay,
Okay, sorry, if you don't mind if I step back.
did you need different wording, is that?
No,
what
no,
you-
no,
okay.
I just want to pass we
Oh.
haven't rectified the motion put forth about the meals.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
We're really ahead.
the motion is the Penetanguishene Public Library Policy and Planning Committee amend the reimbursement policy for employees and board members to reflect meal costs at $15 for breakfast, $25 for lunch, and $40 for dinner, and travel kilometers at 63.5 kilometers
Per kilometer,
per kilometer, sorry.
cents per kilometer.
Cents per kilometer.
Make sure it's cents, not dollars. Oh my God.
Buy a new car.
Might be my hearing, but I heard $50 for breakfast.
15.
15.
15.
It is 15, yeah.
Okay, no.
No, I'm not trying to slip something in here.
What is happening?
That's the reason we record.
Yeah, no. So you got the cents per kilometer.
I do.
right? Okay,
For-
perfect,
for
thank you.
cents per kilometer. So,
Okay,
I-
motion to move
Move.
thank you, Bill.
and second, I guess that's it you.
It's me now.
Did you have anything else? Yes, okay. Where are we at now?
Amendment of policies, where it says that you have to have a 2/3 vote to amend a policy. Normally it's 50 plus one.
So I'm sorry, which section, Bill?
Oh, the very last line.
Amendment of
Vote.
policies, okay.
At least 2/3 of the members in order to be, well, that's basically what it is, if you think about it. 2/3.
Because it would be
half
tie,
plus
right?
one.
But
It's the same wording,
Yeah,
different
same
wording,
thing.
but same principle.
Mhm.
If you want to change the wording, that's fine, but 2/3 of the board is basically half plus one, if you think about it.
So
So
it would be
their
tied,
board
correct?
might be.
Yes.
Okay.
But you have, you just need a majority vote,
Yes,
So-
right?
The majority, so
Exactly,
change it to
yeah.
majority.
Yeah, yeah.
vote.
yeah,
Okay.
okay. That's it for that one.
So yes, just let me, give me 2 seconds if you don't mind.
Yeah. Change that up.
So the motion is the Penetanguishene Public Library Policy and Planning Committee amend the procedures of the operation of the board policy to reflect. let me see here. Select changes. Because basically it's just grammar and wording, right? There's not, we haven't added anything, we've just,
We changed
No,
wording, but we
yes.
amended
Yeah.
the meal, yeah.
is that,
Is that for the
The
board to go
amendments.
that's for this policy that we're just
Motion
reviewing,
to
yes,
amend the- okay.
yes.
Is everybody good with that? Okay, can we have a mover and a seconder, Madam Chair?
Okay,
There's only two, so
That's
flip
right.
flop the
So
names.
let's-
Just keep flipping them back
All
and
right.
forth.
Because Doreen had to leave.
okay.
Okay, next, Wi-Fi, social media policy. Any amendments?
So Linda, when we reviewed this policy, the reason what we did was because we didn't have a social media policy previously. So when I was going through the policy manual and I was discussing it with Linda, what we were saying is they're just repeating themselves over and over again. We have our Wi-Fi policy, we have our internet policy, and we have our now our social media policy. So basically,
Merging.
yeah,
We just merged. them.
yeah, we
Yeah,
just merged it all. So that's why I think I put in here, to remove policy 19.
Yeah.
Yes, which is the wireless,
we made it-
because we
oh,
just made it, we just added it to the internet and the social media.
And policy 5 has already been approved by the board.
Yes.
Yeah, we just merged
Yeah.
them all
Yes.
together as opposed to having them separate.
Okay, I have just,
Yep, grammar.
again, formatting, under access, I think the
Yeah.
second bullet should be up,
One,
Up one,
yes.
okay, thank
up,
you.
one, up, because it's just
Oh,
part
yeah.
of the
Yeah, I
sentence.
see that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, just format it so
Yes,
it's,
I
yeah.
can do that.
better.
And theft and damage, I didn't
Um,
understand that last.
So where
Where are
is?
you at?
same
Oh,
clause,
theft and damage,
theft
library
and
users
da-
are responsible for any damage or loss that may
Yes.
result from their use of technology resources. So basically, they can't blame us. So if
Yeah.
they're on the internet, and this happens quite often, and they're not watching their
Yes.
time, because it clocks down. And all of a sudden, they'll come to us and say, my time ran out,
And I didn't get
and
to.
I didn't get to save what I did.
Save, sign
Oh,
out.
Yeah, so that's basically, so we're not responsible for the
No.
fact that you lost your items because,
They have to
Yeah.
be watching their time when they're on there, so.
And
Not
so
the
the
same
next
one?
sentence, I can't,
okay,
I-
so
This is
I
theft
have an,
and damage.
yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
where we are?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So-
library users are required to pay for repair or replacement costs of damaged devices.
without
Mhm.
authorization is considered theft.
So
This
what,
is,
this is considered,
this is, must be.
Yes.
this must be considered theft, is that?
I don't, I just.
Okay,
it
so I'll
didn't
give you an
read.
example and maybe that will help us.
Yeah.
Word it a little bit differently.
Okay.
So an example is we had a gentleman at the
Mm-hmm.
desk. He was not happy. It wasn't with us. He just was having a day. And all of a sudden, something got from the computer. So I can't remember now if it was the keyboard
Mm-hmm.
or the mouse got thrown across.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no provocation. He just did it. So if you damage something like that, clearly you're going to have to pay for it.
Yep.
So
Right.
that's basically what we're saying is if you damage it, you're,
Without,
You break
So
it,
what-
you own it.
so
What is without
without
authorization?
authorization, that's what.
so I think the authorization is if something happens that falls on the floor by accident.
Yeah.
And it's broken. That's not their fault,
Yeah.
per se, right?
Oh, okay.
That's just an accident.
Without authorization.
Yeah.
So is there better
a
wording?
comma in there
It's
or like?
just, it's confusing.
Okay, so I will gladly change it. I was just trying to,
Library
Yeah.
users are required to pay for the repair or
The cost of
replacement
damaged
costs for
device?
deliberately damaged devices,
Yeah.
or deliberately
Deliberately
damaging
damaging
devices,
devices.
yeah.
So then you.
And then you would take out the without.
authorization.
okay,
Without authorization, it's considered
This
theft
is
and may lead.
considered theft
Yeah.
and maybe.
not paying may require legal. Non-payment may lead to.
Non-payment
Is considered
is
theft.
considered
Yeah,
theft
yeah.
that-
and may lead to legal prosecution.
Non-payment.
That's okay. then.
We'll take it without
That's
authorization.
maybe-
Is
yeah.
considered theft and may lead. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
No.
that's better.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, so that one's good.
And everyone's okay with that, so let me just do a motion quickly.
And then we're going to 14. There's a lot.
Because we didn't have news.
I know.
The removal of policy
Going to the surface of them.
19. Let's see, approve to amendment. Policy.
Oh, and the next one is
Five.
changing due to, closure.
Okay.
Yeah, internet.
No, fee schedule.
Yes, so I'll get to that. So the motion is the Penetanguishene Public Library Policy and Planning Committee approve the removal of policy 19, the wireless internet access policy, and approve the amendment of policy 5, internet, Wi-Fi, and social media policy. Okay, yep, I'll move it. Bill, are you okay with that? Okay.
14.
So there's not much
These-
changes to this.
It's just, we've
Yeah.
just done this last year,
Oh,
but
okay.
some fees have changed for this year, so we
Yeah.
have to revise it.
And that was because the county
Oh,
access. Oh,
Excuse
sorry,
me for
go
a
ahead.
moment. I'll go.
All right, thank you.
Just keep going.
Please.
Yeah, okay.
They caught her.
It's coming.
Have to take her away.
Can car guy, Pure Lake, we had, every once in a while there's a new one. It's a standing joke at our places. Paul in jail again. And then they go, what?
Okay.
So Wi-Fi,
So what happened was that we were charging and we were
Oh,
giving
right.
out the Wi-Fi passes for everyone to access the Wi-Fi, right? They had to pay a fee. Well, the county can no longer do a payment to use the Wi-Fi access because all the libraries in Simcoe County is free. So it's no cost to us as a library because the county covers the cost, but we can no longer charge for it either because everyone has access to it.
okay,
Okay?
So that was the biggest change there.
Yeah.
And then there's just, the numbering, 20, taxes and insurance should be 21,
Okay, thank you.
fines should be 22.
Yeah.
well, it says plus applicable taxes and insurance.
Oh, that's for the meeting room.
20
Yes.
Community
Yes.
meeting room,
That's-
hourly, half day.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, that's,
okay.
So that's, so fines is 21. I
21.
apologize. Yeah, okay.
And e-devices,
That's what should be 22.
22.
Yeah, that's our tablet.
All other materials is 23.
No, that should be, I can do that. I just put it in a separate line so that people wouldn't get confused. I can do
Okay.
a 23 though. That's not an issue.
And I was wondering, I see you've got Y Marsh passes. Did you
Yes.
ever get seasons passes
No.
for
No.
St. Marie and
No.
Discovery Harbor?
No,
They did not.
that's not a service they,
That's
They want to
government as
provide.
well. That's government. That would
Really?
have to probably go to the top, to the deputy.
no, they're just, they had offered something else and, it was an astronomical fee and I said no.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so it wasn't gonna be just the normal season's pass cost,
No.
No.
$30, I think.
Well, that was what originally Linda
We
and I
had to get
discussed that
individual.
because we
Yeah.
wanted to buy 2 seasons passes
Yeah.
and just circulate them. Well,
yeah.
they were not
Mm-mm.
fans of that idea and they said
Oh.
you can't do it. But, you know, me being a policy person, I'm like,
personal opinion.
where's the, I know, that's what I'm saying, but I'm saying it to the group here. Where is the policy on that? You should amend your policy.
They don't have a
to,
policy to state that.
yes. So,
somebody
but I'm
could do
thinking someone
that?
could. I wouldn't because that, to me, that's not
Yeah.
ethical. But
Yeah. And is it worth 10 cents to charge for periodicals? 10 cents.
Oh, that's our book sale.
yeah,
They've always,
I-
Oh, that's
yeah,
a book
yeah,
sale.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
magazines that,
gotcha.
mag,
Okay,
that's
gotcha.
magazines that are in the book sale, 10 cents.
Okay,
We don't have a lot.
okay.
Yeah. They're almost the thing of the past, actually, because of the
The resources, we
press
get
reader.
very, very
Yeah.
few.
Oh,
Yeah.
an announcement, press reader, as of today, you now have access to crosswords, Sudoku, word puzzles.
Yeah, we're getting ready to do an announcement.
Yes, we're gonna do an announcement, a live announcement.
Oh,
Yeah, so if you're on press reader, not only do you get newspapers and magazines, but you now get your daily puzzles, whatever.
oh.
Mhm.
I read the paper every day on,
Me too.
on that, and, especially the comics.
Good.
All right.
So we're good with that one?
Yep. Is everyone good with that one? There's no amend, or, sorry, I do have to do a motion
Yes,
because I
'cause you
apologize.
amended that.
Yes, I did. I apologize.
Like what? Okay, 37 is our next one. I think.
And then the policy and the fee schedule policy. Wi-Fi. Okay, so the motion is the Penetanguishene Public Library Policy and Planning Committee amend the fee schedule policy to reflect Wi-Fi and Warren Marsh passes. Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone's good with it? Bill? All right, moving on. We're getting
Moving
there.
and grooving.
We're getting there.
Closures
So,
and inclement weather.
yes. Okay, so,
Any corrections first before we deal with anything else?
No, I didn't find any.
No errors?
No
Okay.
spelling. No-
okay,
No
Okay.
numbering issue.
good.
Issues, questions? Yes.
Okay.
I think it should be follow the same policy as the town. When the town's closed, the library's closed, museum's closed, arena's closed.
Yes, we do follow that one.
Unless, you know,
Okay,
if you got no hydro, you got no heat, that's something different.
Yep.
But just to say, I think the roads are too snowy for, we're gonna close. I think that should be left. When it's too snowy, the town will call.
Okay,
It gets
so
confusing.
give us a second here to let you know a couple things. So our parking lot isn't always done on a regular basis,
so this was at noon on one day.
and people can't even walk in.
So I deem that as a health and safety concern.
So,
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
yeah. I don't, like I said, I don't close the library just to close the library. That's not me. Even when we have professional development days, we try to split up staff so that we're still open to public, that kind of stuff, unlike some other libraries. But anyway, we try to stay open to the public as much as we can. But when it becomes an issue, and the town, maybe they don't have that issue. And it's not because I'm not talking to Public Works. They're busy. They're doing other streets. And I know we're a soft serve. We're not an essential service. So our priority to have our parking lot plowed is not an essential service. And so I understand that. But in the same token, I understand that I might not be able to open until that is taken care of.
The sidewalk was shoveled though, right?
That's
So-
not a sidewalk.
Yeah, the sidewalk was done. Paul did the sidewalk. However, we did have people getting stuck because they were trying to come in.
And they were getting
So-
stuck on the street.
But it's not just that we're not accessible any other way.
I guess my concern is, I thought it was 6 days, but it was something different, I think, whatever the number of days were.
Yep.
So my question would be, how many days did Foodland close? How many days did Shoppers close? How many days did Dock Lunch close? Like, businesses don't close as often as what the library did. The town doesn't close. They had a day and a half. They were closed this year. And
I wasn't
Yeah, I
aware they
think
had a
it's-
half day closed.
I don't know.
I think it's confusing to the public. Our main thing is to have the public, if they can make it in, we should be here for them.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. So it's no different than the town closing all their facilities to have a staff lunch or training. And we're not in that, right? We have to plan our days now and struggle and stuff to say, oh shoots, that's their days that they're gonna be closed. When we want to kind of do it the same day, right? But we can't always do that because we can't get the people to come in on those days. We try, but
Have you ever asked the town if you can join in with them?
Oh, yeah.
yes, and that's a no.
And that's a no.
That's a no. We are a separate entity.
And so I will,
There's a lot of black and white, and then there's that gray wishy-washy. And unfortunately, yes, we are part of the town, but we are also a separate entity. And so there are times when if it's unsafe for my staff to come in, if I can't even make it in, I'm not gonna ask my staff to come in, right? And those are days that I'm gonna say, if the OPP are putting out there that, stay off the roads,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna be staying home. I'm gonna be telling my staff, stay home.
a lot of road closures
If the
too last year,
town
this year.
decides to open, that's their, right? They have their separate, I don't know what to say to you.
The road closures, you're talking like in Tiny Township or whatever,
Mhm.
that's up to them, that's on the employee. If I lived in Thunder Bay and decided to commute every day, that would be, it's up to me if I
Okay,
can't do it.
so, but there was days I was trying to come in on Champlain Road and I couldn't get in because the road hadn't been plowed.
So if I have no staff,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be able to open. So those are, it's not, those are special scenarios. It's not oh, it's snowing out. I don't feel like getting up today. I'm gonna close the library. That's not what I do.
Even schools weren't closed that many days this year. There's a lot of days the buses weren't running, but
22.
the actual schools weren't closed that many days.
School
Well, the actual
closures?
schools are, yeah, but that's typical of the school board. right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Schools weren't closed, the students
keep
are
in
free to
mind-
walk in.
But my point is that
We weren't
schools are-
closed days. We were closed on specific days. So maybe we closed at 3 because they were telling people it's getting worse and we're telling people to stay off the road.
Postpone unnecessary travel. Or...
So, yeah, so then we said, okay, we're closing early. Yeah, the town is only there till 4:30. We're open till 6. You know what I mean? So yeah, we would close a little early to allow our staff to get home safely. And then that's it. But we weren't closed days. We were closed on specific days.
So, and on the day, correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, but the day that the municipality closed, they didn't let us know. You and I
No.
reported to work
Yes.
because they never corresponded with Linda that they
Yeah.
were closing their facilities.
So that's the other struggle we're having. So they're treating us like we are a separate entity, but we're still following, I would say 90% of their rules, procedures, processes. So, right?
I think we all have to agree that it was a very unusual.
It was.
And a
We
six
never
days
closed.
No,
usually.
before that, it was
Oh my
rare.
God.
We had a day or
Very-
two
Very
Yeah.
rare.
in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe
It
2 or
was
3
just,
days.
it was a terrible winter, and that I'll admit. But we do follow the town's policies. We do. And usually I'll say to Janet, like, even if I'm out of the country or I'm not here, immediately here, I'll call Janet, I'll say, "Hey,
It's not safe out.
what are the
Yeah.
roads like immediately around you?" And she will report. And I'm following the news and I'm following the OPP. And then I'll say to her, well, I think we can remain open. Or no,
it's bad.
it's bad. We need to close. We're going to close early. But as far as saying close the full day,
Twice, and that was the ice storm.
yeah.
And it was the day that.
Oh, we didn't have power.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those 2
Yeah.
days, the schools
The-
were
yeah,
closed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we closed for
Yeah.
complete days.
But
That's the only two.
otherwise,
You've just closed early
no.
during inclement
No.
weather.
Yeah.
And even if I'm, like I said, even if I'm out of the country and she closes early,
I always
you
say
can
something.
rest assured that I'm going to be in communication with her
Yes.
and saying, why? Why are we closed early? So it's not just we're just closing early because we want to, or we're closing today. There's a reason why we're closing.
And I think I made that
And I
decision
don't
on
know
one
when the
day.
town's going to be closed. The only time I know is when I see it on Facebook and I go, did you know the town's closed?
We get the town to notify you. They could just notify you.
That would be nice.
I used to, back in the day, I used to get an email from Jeff and he'd say, I'm closing my, I don't get that anymore. I don't know if it's because they're on social media now, in his defense. And maybe he's thinking, but we don't get that in time.
Or
I'm not on there all the time.
could it be a change in, could be, I'm not
It
making
could
an excuse
be.
for Jeff, but it could be a change in his staff, like maybe,
Maybe it's another staff that's supposed to let
Yeah.
us know it, and it's a miscommunication.
Yeah.
It could very well be, but yeah.
And
So
in
that-
Linda's defense, she has brought this up.
so back to the other thing that I talked to about earlier, where I get people coming in and talking to me all the time. One of the things they talk about is closures.
So
Yeah.
I will admit, one day I did make the decision to close because Linda wasn't here. I was in communication with Linda, but when the
You
police
had been in
advised us,
communication with Beth as well.
yeah.
They
Yes, I
always
was.
communicate
Yes.
with me.
So the
Yeah.
reason was the OPP were telling people
Yeah.
to close, get off the road if possible. Well, I mean,
So
I don't
I
think
did
it's
my
safe.
research. I was in Jamaica and I was on, and I said, we're closing. My husband said, you're supposed to be off. I'm never off. Okay, why are they closing? And right away she said, yeah, it's an OPP thing. And then when I looked it up, it was an OPP thing. And I said, I'm not there. I trust your judgment. So yeah, but to say that we're just closing, no. But yeah, it'd be great if that was processed
More
through
communication between them?
the town, if they were to communicate and say, listen, we're thinking of closing, or, you know, but they close at 4:30.
And they have staff that
weather's
work from
always
home as
worse
well.
at night. Well, that's the other
And
thing.
then you.
We
the
don't
library
work from
being open
home.
Later, so you're expecting staff to go home during the snowstorm in the dark.
Yeah. So it's a lot of that, you know, and maybe the storms got worse after 4. I don't know, right? But yeah, I forgot a lot of their staff does work from home, right? Because they certain days, so they have those flex days or flex times or whatever it's called. So I mean, maybe it didn't affect them as it affected us. That might be the other scenario. I don't know. It was just one of those winters because we've never
Not like that. We have closed, but not
one day,
to,
but not
Yes.
like it
Yeah.
seemed like we were.
yeah.
Terrible.
So like I said, when I'm driving down Champlain and I can't get
and I
to
got a
town,
4x4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's up to this committee, but we're just letting you know how the decisions are made.
Use your judgment.
There has to be some.
I'm not gonna tell you to stay open when the roads aren't safe. When I wouldn't travel, when I wouldn't go out, I wouldn't expect someone else to.
But there are days where I do travel. So you know what I mean? Like I will, but
Well,
then I say I got
staff aren't paid. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and I understand there's the public aspect to it, but the same thing, you know, they shouldn't really be out either.
No,
if
the
they're
OPP
being
are
advised.
saying
Yeah,
to
it's
stay
not-
home.
It's not
Yeah,
safe.
when the
And
roads
I'm
are
just
like
afraid
that.
we're gonna get a child after school and
Then what?
then what do we do?
Yeah.
Like,
There was that day when you had the chocolate chef.
Yes.
I had signed up for that.
Yes.
It was in Midland.
Yeah.
And I chose not to go because the weather was so bad.
But we still went.
You still had it.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to travel. I was too nervous.
So there were days where it was bad and we still were open, but yeah. It would be nice if that communication did take place from the town where they said, okay, we're closing our departments. And then we would be prepared for that specific day. But a lot of times I'll just see it on Facebook, to be honest. So yeah. So I'm not sure who takes care of that, to be honest.
So if we could get the town to communicate, that would be okay?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
And I just read about the staff appreciation, so because you're not part of their staff, maybe you might not be allowed in there, but maybe some of the other stuff, the Women's Day or whatever.
What do you mean the Women's Day? Sorry.
There was something here about Women's Day.
Well, they had to close the library because all the staff was
Yes,
busy.
Oh, yeah, but we
Example,
didn't, that was
Well,
one
once you have
time.
your big room.
no, we
downstairs-
didn't close for Women's Day.
Oh.
No,
No,
we
no,
were
no.
open.
Because all the
That's what
staff,
Let me look.
some of the staff.
I
were still
think,
here.
I think
We were
that's,
open.
Linda, do you mind if I just take a second to review some of the
Absolutely.
parts?
Yeah.
Because,
Right here.
Where were you? Where's the at? Because no, we were open for Women's Day.
Okay, well, that's.
I
good.
think what we're
oh,
talking
it's
about.
parallel. So what we're saying is if they close for, an event,
Mhm.
so if we have an event,
Mhm.
we would do the same. So if they close for, you know, so let's just say they used to close, I don't know if they still do,
Yeah,
but they used to close early on New Year's and have a luncheon
Mhm.
for the staff luncheon.
yeah.
So
They don't do that anymore.
Oh, okay,
But
but
that's a
that's an
good
example,
example,
is
yeah.
what I was trying to use when
But
I
if
was.
they're doing staff training,
Yeah, if they're doing
That's-
staff training,
yeah.
you should be able to do it together. Or it would be nice if you
it,
could.
we
Or
used
at the
to.
same day.
We
even.
used to, but now they believe that we are a separate entity, right? We should have different training. So that's when we bring in people that are for our staff, you know, like we have the EMS come in and we have emergency preparedness, that kind of stuff. So we
But-
plan our own with
Oh, I
our
see what
own
you're saying.
budget
Okay,
money.
I got it
But
now.
could
I
that
know
not
what
be-
it was referring to.
Could that not be worked together?
We used to.
We're not invited.
They've decided, this is what I'm telling you, it was decided that we are a separate entity. That's all I'm gonna say. Back in the day, we did go to professional wellness days, that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, staff appreciation days, but they've decided now that we are a separate entity and we should do those things on our own.
Okay.
So what we try to do is do those things on those days,
Yes.
but just on our own.
But it's to have
So
those days. You
If-
don't know what
if
days
these
they are.
things that could be shared were shared, you would have no objection to that?
No, we loved going to Wellness Day,
So then,
you know?
okay, and staff appreciation day probably wouldn't be because you're not part of their staff,
Mm-hmm.
although.
We are, but we're
If-
not. But yeah, it's a gray line. It's that wishy
well,
area.
They have Jeff and here it
Yes,
has you. So
yes. And that's
it's a
why there's
conflict.
that gray
So
area.
there's a separation
Yeah.
there, not that you couldn't step back and,
I would
do it
love to be
together.
appreciated one day.
okay. So
So,
that's something you,
Of
the
course.
board has no objection if I promote that?
Oh, no, I would think that it
We
would be
used to.
appreciated.
We
Yeah,
used
yeah.
to partake in their training days. I think now, they focus more on municipal aspect.
Mhm.
We focus more on customer service, library aspect, and I think that's why our training days are more beneficial that way. And maybe that's why when Jeff and I had that conversation, he said, you know, there's things that are okay to do, but most things should be done separately. Because it's two different businesses, if you think about it, right? But yeah,
okay, so I remember now, why Linda and I discussed the Women's Day. It was because when we have the event, we thought last year it would have been nice to close for half an hour to allow the staff to come for lunch.
Yes.
Because lunch was provided.
Yeah.
So it was just, like if we put a sign up 2 weeks ahead of time saying closed for lunch from 12 to 12:30, because the staff are entitled to a lunch,
yeah,
they could come and have a lunch.
Yeah.
That's just an
at the
example.
event.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
yeah,
I
that kind
I
of
took
thing.
it that you were closed.
No, I'm
No.
sorry. I
No.
can
We
take that
just
right
take
out.
that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've never
So,
been closed. for
No,
that.
no, I was just like, they should let them come and, because they
Have
work,
lunch
they
together.
work hard
Sure.
on the events as well, so they should be able
Yeah.
to partake in half an hour. Okay, so am I making any changes at the moment to anything other than taking out the Women's Day?
I didn't see any, I didn't see anything that.
So staff lose pay when the library closes early?
So is it noted in here, Janet, just because we've gone through this quite a bit, is it noted that we do follow the town's policies? Unless, like, maybe the wording could be like,
Sure,
we
you tell me
do
where to
follow the
change it.
town's policy unless special circumstances arise. Because we do follow the town's
Okay, so the
policy, but they close at 4:30, sometimes
Should be unique
might close at 5,
circumstances.
right? Or unique circumstances, yes.
That
Right.
sounds good.
If the
Yeah.
library, or if the
Okay.
Because we're
town-
open during the day, but all of a sudden, oh my God, like there's a blizzard out there at 4 o'clock.
but if
Can
the-
we send
but if
people
the-
home at
If
4:30,
the
you know?
town's open all day today,
Yeah,
and you decide at noon that you want to send everybody home, because there might be an ice storm coming.
well, I wouldn't do that. It
Well,
has to be
We
happening.
have done it, but again, Linda, to be honest with you, like when we've done it, it's because
It's,
it's
they're
like,
telling us,
yes,
they're telling us.
yes.
It's
Like if
imminent,
I'm
yeah.
looking outside and I'm like, okay, they're saying it's gonna be a blizzard, it's blizzard, okay, I'm looking, no, it's not, I'm I'm very weather oriented.
But we only have limited staff
Yeah.
too, so
Yeah.
it's not like we have staff working at home, like we only have
But
a
not
few.
just that, we also don't have, okay, well, you live in Elmvale, okay, you can go home because I still have staff to, you know what I mean? So that
If it's
might,
somebody living in Elmville, was their decision to be. out
yes,
there.
I know, you know what I mean? Like, that's fine, you wanna go home, but they have coverage, they have other bodies. If our staff starts to go home, who's gonna cover, right? And that's the unique
Mhm.
situations, right? Part of that.
If it's a factory, if you were a factory and you had people on an assembly line, people can't just walk off the line and say, oh, I think I gotta travel, so I'm gonna leave. You can't leave that hole.
Well, actually, I know all about factory and the union. And yes, they can walk off that line and say, it can be a health hazard
Health
for
and
me.
safety.
Yeah, they have rights. Oh, they have rights, trust me. I've worked in that environment and for many, many years before and my dad was in it many, many years. But anyway, yeah, they'll call somebody in, or they'll, you're doing two jobs now, right? But the problem is, it's not gonna be done as well as if you had that person standing there. But my point is, if it's something unique, obviously, ice storm, powers out, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I think it's a health and safety issue. I really do. I think we, as supervisors, we have a responsibility to our
it
staff for
usually
health and
is.
safety.
yeah,
When schools, buses are canceled, there are lots of teachers who don't live in the area, at any school.
yeah. They
And,
report to your closest school.
We ask, you can report to your closest school, but
Yeah.
if you're in a situation like Burkeville
Oh,
and you live in Elmville, you
yeah,
are not expected to
really?
try to come in,
Okay.
and you are not penalized.
Huh. Okay.
And even when I was teaching, at Canadian Martyrs, there were several teachers who lived out on the concession roads, like past LaFontaine,
Yeah,
on the, like, tiny beaches,
yeah.
or Champlain Road. And those people we never expected them to come in to help cover the
Mm.
students. If the weather cleared and
Yeah,
the roads were done, then you were expected to make
Yeah.
an effort to come in.
Yeah.
But if that wasn't the case,
yeah.
And that was the morning that, once everything was cleared, I was fine. But
Yeah.
that's just like I said, I understand Linda's commitment to health and safety.
like, there's
That's-
always
that's
a
right.
small group of teachers, like, I never, ever, in my 27 years teaching, missed a day at school when the buses were canceled. I only ever missed if the director of education closed the school.
Yeah.
There was always a core group of teachers who lived in Midland or Penetang that were there to supervise the students. But anybody from far out of town, I know it's their choice to live there, but they weren't expected to risk their life to come in.
Okay, so the other option would be, if we want to make it like the unique, the other option would be, do we send a mass email? But some people don't answer their emails, so that's not gonna help us.
Well,
Could be a majority rules though of those that do answer of the board.
Of the board?
Yeah, like
For the
emailing
board
and
to
To me,
saying,
that's an
we're thinking,
operational decision. It's
you know,
not a
it
board
is,
decision.
but
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
operational, that's
Yes.
nothing to do with us.
And,
Yeah.
I would hate to be sued because you insisted somebody came in and they ended up
yeah,
being killed on the road.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's why the school boards don't.
the
Force
liability
teachers to come in.
issue,
I don't think
and
there's
there's
any
a board liability issue there as well. I don't know.
That's why Linda gets paid the big bucks to make those decisions.
Well, it's.
and I don't take them lightly.
No, I'm sure you don't, and
No.
nobody does, it's, yeah, I don't know.
The other thing is, if we close per day, we're looking at 1,000 plus in wages. Just gone.
We say,
We don't get paid.
They don't get paid.
we don't get paid.
The staff don't get paid.
If you close
If
that,
the library closes
Yeah.
early, it says right here. I didn't
Linda
really
and I
agree
can
with
work
it
from
because I
home.
never lost money, but anyway, it says right here that, for the missed time.
They can take vacation
staff
time
can
or
use
sick day.
Vacation time.
It says.
Yeah, right here.
It says they shall be paid for scheduled hours. When
If they're here
Mhm.
and I say, okay, we're closing early today due to weather or power outage or something like that.
It's right here.
Yeah.
If the library remains
But
open, but individual
if they're
employees
scheduled to
decide that
work-
they need to leave.
Yeah, if they're scheduled to work, but I canceled that shift before, they're not getting paid for that day.
But even if they leave, it
Then
says,
it does read a little bit ambiguously.
Okay, where are
The
we
first
at?
paragraph. When the decision is made to close the library.
Yeah.
Due to inclement weather.
Yeah.
Or whatever, employees shall be paid for their scheduled hours.
If they're here.
if they
So then
come
I
in.
can change that.
So it's the
If-
wording.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I will change that.
So
Yep.
if they are on premise.
If they are on premise, already on premise.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they're already working their scheduled shift, that's what it should be. If they are already working their scheduled shift,
Already, if they
Yeah.
are already working.
yeah. And it is, a decision is made to close, then they get paid their hour left or whatever. But if they are not, if they haven't started their shift, they're not paid for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
And at which
that's
time-
always been like
yeah,
that.
They can use their vacation time.
Yep.
So if they
Yeah,
say,
I
you know
see
what,
that
I really
there.
need
Yeah.
that money.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm sorry we had to close, but you're entitled to
Yeah, I
use.
see
Yeah.
that in the second one.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
their
Yeah, they're,
individual-
yeah,
their
they can
Yeah.
use.
individual-
Does that make
available
sense?
vacation.
Yes,
better?
that
That makes
clarifies
the
it.
more
Okay.
sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
I thought, sorry, that's wording.
Yeah, that is wording. That's why we do
That's,
this.
yeah, that's right. That's why we do these meetings. Anything else on that one? We're good? Everybody's getting hungry. I'm gonna have to order lunch soon if we don't go home.
$25 meal.
Yes. Should I order
So,
something?
Past news, so
Wait, we should, that's right.
keep
We're
telling you.
close,
Or
eh?
the,
I'll
sorry,
order
which one
pizza.
are we in?
I don't even
We
have
only
my
have one more
phone.
left.
Okay.
The
All
closure.
right, we only have one
Closures.
left.
Okay, so you're doing your, you do your
Yeah, I'm just
motion
doing-
right now. I'll get the other
Mhm.
policy up and running.
Policy.
I'm losing my voice. I
be
apologize.
approved
Since I've had that issue
as
there. I lose my
amended
voice right
with-
away now. And I talk too much. Darn, my husband likes it, 'cause then I don't talk as much.
Working.
Okay,
the
library board staff relation
Working
policy.
on premise
I can't remember this
already
one.
at time of closure. Be paid for remaining shift. Okay, so, the motion is the Pennsylvania Public Library Policy and Planning Committee approve the closures of to inclement weather policy as amended with staff working on premise, already at time of closure be paid for remaining shift only.
Yes,
Okay.
Does that work?
Yes, that's much clearer.
Okay,
because that's always been the way anyway. We've never,
no.
And if they choose to leave, they're not paid for the.
No,
removal.
they
because
choose
I'm not
to-
closing.
Yeah, okay.
That'd be like them going home sick or
And,
something.
and it says that they can use their vacation.
That's
time.
correct, yeah. It's only if we make that decision.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Okay, is everyone good?
Mhm.
With that? Okay. All right. All right, 38,
Last one.
last one. All right,
There were hard ones this time,
they
right?
were.
We're getting
Well,
into,
because
we're getting
doubled-
into the
we
nitty
doubled
gritty
up
now.
too, right?
Yeah, we're getting
So,
Yeah.
Part A, I think, page 3,
Sorry,
Page
page
three.
3. So
policy
that's
framework.
one,
Part A, I think
two,
the word board is missing from the
Yeah.
second word of the second sentence.
Library.
I'm sorry, which one was that?
General relationship between staff and library board
Library
members.
board is the policy and decision-making authority of the library, and only the library board.
Board as a
Yes, I'm
whole,
sorry,
yes.
okay. Okay,
And then there's I don't know whether it's a run-on sentence or
It
incomplete.
could
it's
very
incomplete.
well be, Beth.
Incomplete,
That's what happens when you're educated in French.
yeah.
Where is it?
Just above part C,
Part B. Okay,
paragraph above.
so this policy is not intended to
Yeah,
inhibit the
to
library board
inhibit a
member
library
from
board
carrying
member
out their
from carrying
duties.
out their duties.
It does,
So it's the
however,
next sentence that I
Yeah,
don't
it's,
understand. It does require, however, that prior to communicating directly with the CEO on behalf of a member of the public, blah, blah,
What
blah.
are we supposed to do?
I don't know. I can't remember. Do you remember?
I got that one marked too. I'm left up in the air.
Yeah.
I think
It does
it's
require
on,
prior
I think that's,
communicating
on,
directly with
it's
you on
to
behalf
go
of
with the
the-
discussion we had before.
Yeah.
It can't be, you
Must be
can't
with the
be, a-
library board
yeah,
prior.
Must be
right?
Well,
It's,
just the
it's,
sentence that is
yeah.
kind of-
Yeah,
Right.
must
must be
be,
discussed,
must-
like,
yeah.
it should have been discussed with the board prior.
Before
You can't just
communicating.
say, oh, I'm gonna say something out in public and.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I
it's
know
gonna-
what
You know what I
you
mean?
but it's just that-
yeah,
Just that the sentence
so,
was kind of, maybe it's
prior
just,
communicating.
prior.
That prior to communicating directly with the CEO on behalf of the.
Prior to communication?
The board should it should be brought to the board, or,
Okay,
I don't know what you're.
so let me reread it as I've added a sentence and we'll
Okay.
see if that makes sense. And if not, we can amend
Okay.
it again. So this policy is not intended to inhibit a library board member from carrying out their duties. It does require, however, that prior to communicating directly with the CEO on behalf of a member of the public, it must be discussed. I remember now why we didn't discuss with the
Must be
board
discussed
prior
at
to
the
communication.
board level.
So this one, I think, if I remember correctly, it was
Can't remember.
it was one-on-one communication with you. So your communication should be done with, as a board as a whole, not individually. If I remember now that
No, you know what it is, yeah, you can't come and, so what,
Yeah.
you can't have one person come in and say, okay, do this.
yes.
And then another board member come in and say, do this,
We can't give direction.
as an individual.
Yes.
You have to bring, so let's say, Bill, you want to talk about, I don't know, or Beth, whoever, about, something going on at the desk. Anyway, you cannot just
Within two.
like, you can't do it on behalf of yourself. It's like speaking in public, giving your personal opinion, right? You are my employers, not as one, but as a whole. So that's what this is about. So that's
Yes.
what's missing there,
Yes.
is you
Giving
have,
you direction.
yeah,
Yes.
you have to, as a group, you know, because it can get to the point sometimes for CEOs like, oh my God, well, who am I listening
I know,
to,
yeah.
right? Like,
Mm.
who's, but if it comes here as a group, now what that person can say, that board member can say, can you add this to the agenda? Can we discuss this? And then, yes,
And
and I can
that's-
say, Janet,
And that's the same as
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
My direction can't come from the board. My direction has to come from Linda.
Yeah.
So I can respond to a general email, and you'll notice that if I respond to an email, regardless if the question
Yeah.
came directly just to me, it's responded to the board as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way this sentence is.
Yeah,
and that's
worded.
what
we
I
can re-
try,
I-
that's
we
what
can
I try to
rewrite
do
that,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Like,
like
let's say
an
you send me
Yes.
an email and
It
you
is an
say,
incomplete sentence.
It's in, it misses
You know,
something.
can I have this information? Yeah, but I'm gonna give it to everybody. You know what I
Right.
mean? Cause
Yeah.
it's a whole,
Yes.
it's a group.
Mhm.
So I can't just give it to Kathy. I can't just give it to Beth. I can't just give it to Beth. I gotta give it to the board.
Right.
And
Be
so the
done
request should go to the
by
board. That's what
the
that means.
Library board
That
as a
sentence.
whole.
Does that make sense?
If I make a request of Jeff,
Yep.
his reply is to me, it's not to the board, or not to the council.
I mean, a direction. Do you give Jeff a direction or do you go to council? That's what we're talking about here. You can come up to me and say, oh, do you have any information on whatever, this or that?
Can I have this policy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I'm
Sure.
thinking you're asking for it, then everybody else must need that information. So I'm going to send it out to the board.
So if
But
walk-
I can take that ask.
Direction.
So if
yes.
I go in and ask for a policy or.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
something, you would just reply to me on that.
Yes, but you can't come to me and say, okay, put this, I want this done. I want this done. You know, you should do this. You can't do that, right? It has to come as a board directive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so I
So
have
wording?
changed it. We'll see if it is a complete
Okay.
sentence now.
All right.
Okay, so this policy is not intended to inhibit a library board member from carrying out their duties. It does, however, require
Yes.
that prior communication be done by the library board as a whole.
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
Did I nail that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I'm reading it. I'm like, what?
I don't remember either. I've done this so long ago,
Yeah.
I can't keep track. Okay.
Anything else that's
In here, the
Now, this is so
inquiry?
close to the school board as far as the
They're all
trustee
pretty
code
similar.
of conduct.
well, some of it I may
You
have,
know?
I have, like, I remember, like, usually what happens is the policy's there, but you have to add certain things.
A
Like the
lot of
social
them we
media
get
policy
from
wasn't
other
in
libraries
existence.
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all
So this one's
standard.
good?
Everyone's
all
good with that, so
standard.
just
Yeah.
let me,
do your thing and maybe we can. Was there
Approve
any
the-
new business?
Staff relations policy.
No? Okay.
So you're gonna read the motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just typing it now.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
fine as well.
Okay, so the motion is the Penetanguishene Public Library Policy and Planning Committee approve the staff relations policy as amended by the committee. So it's just a sentence added,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yep.
Is everyone in agreement?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
So all these policies will be included in the board package or not?
That's-
No, I have to do the report, in the minutes, and I send it to,
chair?
The chair. The
Okay.
chair does the report to the committee
Ah.
Monday night,
To the board.
Add
or to the board, I'm
To
sorry,
the
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, that's gonna be a
Yeah.
huge board package.
Yeah.
and
you got the
then they,
board
and,
packages, eh?
and
They're-
they
they're
approve
printed.
it,
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
I'll make sure I.
They're at the
pick
front.
that up.
We need a adjournment, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes, I'll adjourn.
Okay.
12,
I mean, I'll move.
12:34?
Can I do that?
Yes.
12